good morning, everybody, and welcome as always. You are locked and loaded on this stream. Rumble.com/LFATV. We are also simulcasting over on YouTube. YouTube at LFATV US, and of course our website, LFATV.us. This is live from America, and I am your ever so humble, God-fearing host of the show, Jeremy Harrell, the hip-hop patriot. And as always, we are broadcasting live from the red Hawkeye state of Iowa. Got a lot of things going on here in the central part of this country, but we can't move forward unless we say hello to the one, the only, producer Eli Ellis, who's responsible for all the visuals that you see from sea to shining sea on this network. How we doing, brother?
What's going on, LFATV family and patriots? You know what time it is. Time to hit the rumble button. Time to hit the share button. We got to build this audience. Let's go, go, go. Help us out, and let's get to it.
B Hops is watching today. How you doing, B Hops? Becca is here. Coral Reef is in the building. Patty, Cat Lover, Kikalo is here. Tommy is also in the live chat. Faithful to him. I like that name. 217 MAGA Mom, the real Mama Faye. Dottie is here. Sass64, Eagle Fight. Peg Jernigan is here. DeCluse, Miguel Ortiz is in the live chat. Slabstick is in the live chat. Dolly Diva is here. Barb Naylor is also here. Betty is in the building. How are you, Betty? Dave and Carmen and Dana, welcome to Live from America. Good to have you here. Parker and Andrea and our Bevmo. Again, thank you for being here. Liz Ellis is in the live chat. Everybody give a shout out to producer Eli's beautiful and wonderful wife, one of my best friends, Liz Ellis. Casey Maga is in the building. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Rockin' Rev Dean is here as always. Gotta love that guy. Make sure you follow him. We've got UI Manager in the building. Biden Sucks. What a great name. Gene McKillen is here. Sean Maga 79, Sherry Welch, Sonia Smith, and Arrow Pink in this live chat. How you doing today? It's good to see you on this Wednesday, August 12th. I want to go over to YouTube. I want to give some shouts out over there. We've got Mr. Good Citizen, Jason Beaches, Tony Hype, Scott Rollins, Eric Klein is in the live chat over there. Random Sorley, Reason 1024, Tony Hype, Renee Ashcraft, and Unhinged TDS is in the building. How you doing, guys? Good to see you. So interesting turn of events this morning. This morning, my wife and I had to go to family court for the next step in our adoption process with me and my stepdaughter. And today was the day that the rights of her biological father were terminated. And this is coming after 7 years of no contact and very limited contact from that moment until she was 4 years old. So I came in, thank you, Sean Maga. It's $5. Thank you so very much, Sean. I appreciate that. I've been raising Olivia since she was 4 years old. Her father has had her every other weekend up until he completely walked out on her life when she was 10 years old, going on 11 years old. And today we got his rights terminated after 7 years of no contact. And there's a part of me, first of all, the reason why I'm telling you all of this, and I want to thank Patty Vest. She just donated her $50 for this month and said, use where needed. Patty, we will. Thank you very much. It's very, very nice that you guys see so much value in what we do here every day for the last 5 years. There's a part of me as being a father that I was kind of holding off on this for years. I was kind of procrastinating because I was kind of hoping her father would come back in her life somewhere out of nowhere maybe. Wishful thinking. I also didn't want to take away from her, that ability to be able to continue to have her father's last name and then someday they reconcile. But at the same time, she has to go through life with her brothers and sisters having a different last name. Thank you, Spartan Cave. Says Dr. Chefauki recommends you wear a mask over your eyes. Thank you, Spartan Cave, for the $5 donation. She doesn't have the same last name as her brothers and sisters. That's always bothered her. And if her father ever does come back into her life as an emotional figure, then maybe that would be a great thing. But she'll have a different last name, and she'll have our last name. So today was the termination of rights We go back in September for the actual adoption. I'm so grateful to all of you for your advice, your counsel, your suggestions, your donations to make it happen. It was $3,500 to adopt. I can't believe it was like that. And Jay Wall, you and your wife are great parents. I appreciate that. I really do. Bill Carmen says, any guy that can be a father but takes a real man to be a dad. Brother, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. Sherry Welch says, my daughter's sperm donor has been MIA for years. She doesn't even call him her dad. Well, Olivia does call me dad, and I was honored when she started doing that about 4 years ago. And, she's just looking for some emotional love as from a father in her life, and she's got that in me. And I'll tell you, I may get a little emotional talking about this. Amy just said her husband adopted her daughter. Amy, so you've went through the process. I got to tell you, when the judge said, okay, we've seen it, all the evidence, we've seen all, you've complied with all of the requirements. You even went above and beyond to make sure that he was notified so that if he contested it, he could do that either via, Zoom or be here in person. He wasn't able to be found. They don't care. He just doesn't care, and I think that's her biggest issue is that he just doesn't care. And so when the judge finally said rights are terminated, it was like I don't know. It was just like this lump in your throat. I saw my wife starting to cry. And so anyway, you guys have been here for, the better part of 5 years. Some of you have been watching me even longer. And Victim says 3,500 sounds like fleeting. I'll tell you what, I couldn't believe it was that expensive to have that done. But it is what it is. And we were able to raise the money that on top of what we put on top of it, and it was able to be done. Amy said he signed away his rights. Wow. That's, well, I hate to have that happen to any kid, but anyway, the next step is done. So I just wanted to say thank you. I had actually got here this morning and recorded a whole first hour of today's show in case I wasn't back in time. So basically I'm doing the same hour over again because I could have just thrown it up there, but I'd rather be live with you all, right? I'd rather be live with you all. So anyway, thank you guys for your help. Thank you for all your guidance and your donations on that. I wanted to start the show off today with a very important video that I think everybody should see. I saw this video this morning. And when I saw this, I said, this is exactly what's going on in life right now. One of the biggest problems with people debating today, and by the way, I don't know if you guys know this kid. He's a young kid, very smart kid. Very wrong on a lot of the things he says. He's one of these guys that invites conservatives on so that he can do a debate, talks over them most of the time, cuts them off most of the time, and only gives half-truths about like the phone call that Donald Trump had with Brad Raffensperger. It's like there are fine people on both sides of the aisle story where he takes out little things, and then he runs with that and does clips of all his points, but never the points that are made back to him. So him and I are going to have a conversation today about, because he invited me on to do the same thing. Him and I are going to have a conversation today, and that conversation is going to go a little like this. Before we have our debate, which I can't wait to have, we have to figure out where are we going to find our basis of truth. What is truth? Can a man be a woman? If you say a man can be a woman, we're already having issues right there. Because if we can't even find the basis of truth that a man is a man and a woman is a woman in this country, then how are we going to have any other discussion on anything that's meaningful? It's turned into a bunch of media BS, social media BS, where people on both sides will invite somebody on and they'll only post the mic drop moments or the moments that they think will benefit them well with their audience rather than just playing the whole thing out, right? And so there is everything is upside down. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left, men are women, and women are men. If anybody goes out there and has an actual substantive debate, they better be able to have a basis of truth that they can agree on. And that means where they're getting your information from for your debate. That's the way it used to be. It's not the way it is anymore. Watch this video. Tell me what you think.
Hierarchy doesn't disappear, it just changes form. Merit-based hierarchies rooted in truth give way to...
Let me start that over. Okay, here we go.
Why does the world feel like it's gone mad? Why can't we agree on even the most basic facts? What a man is, what a woman is, what's real and what's not. It isn't confusion or coincidence, it's the logical outcome of a society that has replaced truth with equity as its highest value. Equity, the pursuit of equal outcomes rather than equal opportunity, sounds compassionate, but when elevated to a moral absolute, it becomes tyrannical because reality itself is unequal. People differ in talent, discipline, intelligence, and luck. Nature is not fair and it never will be. To enforce equality of outcome, truth must first be denied. This is the origin of our collective insanity. We can't acknowledge differences because differences produce inequality. We can't admit that men and women are distinct because that would mean nature is not equal. We can't even discuss competence or merit without being accused of bias. Truth becomes offensive because truth creates hierarchy, and hierarchy is a sin in an equity-obsessed world. Thomas Sowell called this the pursuit of cosmic justice, the attempt to right all the wrongs of existence itself. In this worldview, every gap in wealth, ability, or success is a moral failure of society. But since life itself is hierarchical, achieving cosmic justice requires waging war on life's structure. It means denying that truth exists independently of our feelings and punishing anyone who reminds us that it does. This is why the distinction between man and woman has been placed under such relentless attack. It's not a side issue, it's the issue. The male-female distinction is one of the most fundamental categories in nature, a biological truth that underpins civilization itself. If people can be convinced that even the most self-evident distinction is merely a social construct designed for oppression, then every other boundary, moral, biological, or logical, becomes easier to erase. Once that foundation crumbles, reality becomes negotiable. And yet, when you destroy the natural order, you don't create equality, you create tyranny. The hierarchy doesn't disappear, it just changes form. Merit-based hierarchies rooted in truth give way to ideological ones rooted in moral posturing. Those who claim to dismantle systems of power simply build new ones, where loyalty to the narrative determines worth. That's why the world feels upside down. We're living in a society where truth is no longer sacred because equality is. And when equality of outcome becomes the highest good, truth itself must be sacrificed on its altar. Why does the world feel like it's...
Everything that guy said hit the nail on the head. That is our world today. You know, I used to say, wow, politics seems to have, and thank you guys for the shares. Thank you, Bad Moon. Thank you, Kathy Ratcliffe. Thank you guys for sharing for so many different to so many different platforms. I used to say politics has wormed its way into everything. And because politics has wormed its way into everything, then everybody is going to fight and we're going to be the divided states of America. I've now come to realize it's not politics. Politics is one part of it. It's life. People can't disagree anymore. If people disagree, they can't be friends. If you think there's a God and this person doesn't, that person says you can't be friends. If you didn't want to wear a mask, but that person does, more than likely you're not going to be friends. If you wave a flag outside of your house and somebody thinks that that flag is oppression, you and them can't be friends. Now, that's not coming from our side. We know where that's generally coming from. But the fact of the matter is, it's in everything. If you disagree, you seem to be mortal enemies. Raise your hand in the Rumble chat. How many of you lost friends and family during COVID and during President Trump's first and second terms? How many people have lost family and friends? And then let me ask you a second question right on the back end of that. How many of those people walked away from you as opposed to you walking away from them for your differences of opinions? I'm going to pull up the Rumble chat. We're going to see. Because I'll guarantee you it's very one-sided, and I'll guarantee you all of you have a story. Let's see. I did. Hand raised. I did. Me. Yes, I did. I did. Oh, so family says, no, I walked away. Okay, there's one. They walked away from me. All of them. They left me. Me and they walked. They all walked away from me. None have apologized to me. I have lost friends and they all walked away from me. Them. All of them. Liz Ellis says, yep. Another I walked away. So there's 2 out of so far however many people are talking here. They walked away from me. They walked away from me. They walked away. Here, they unfriended me. So we live in a world now where it's just almost impossible to disagree with somebody on things that they find very important to them. So when I have this debate with Adam Mockler, and when I have any debates going forward, there's going to be a basis of truth, and we're going to actually have a debate. This isn't for your channel for sound bites and things like that. You want sound bites? Prove your point and back it up with receipts. Then you can have sound bites. Prove your point and back it up with stats, real stats. And let's agree on where we can pull those stats from. I think the best place you can pull your stats, if you're talking about anything to do with government, is across multiple administrations in the government websites, because for them to post falsehoods would be so criticized that there would be lawsuits constantly if numbers were wrong. If job numbers were not revised, there'd be lawsuits on that. You know it would be. So you got to find out where that basis of truth is. And guess what? It's not going to be from mainstream media outlets or independent media outlets. It's going to have to come from people who are actually putting pen to paper, or in this case, digits on the internet. And there has to be something to back it. Because if you do it with receipts and you have anybody with a half a brain, no Republican will ever lose a debate. It just won't happen. The best Democrat is worse than the worst Republican. And it's that simple. And they're having a civil war over that right now in their party. And like Sean said, where's the weakness in the Democrat Party? The fact that half their party doesn't want socialism and the other half does. And the half that does want socialism actually wants communism. So, if you agree with everything I said and you have not yet clicked that thumbs up, whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere else, do that now, please. We'd appreciate that. Also, lfatv.us, that is our website. We'll scroll through it here real quick. That gives you a little bit of our mission statement right there. This gives you a video mission statement of what LFA TV is. Obviously, there's all of our recent shows. If you want to go on LFA TV US and you missed any of our shows, you can click onto our shows and it'll take you right to that specific show and you can watch it, okay? Also, our short clips. There's your short clips. I put out a short clip, I filmed a short clip of me taking a civics test yesterday. I'm going to be posting that today. I took it in real time, and it's just going to give basically a prelude to what it's going to be later on when I get that up and going. So check that out. If you want to donate, there's a donate section there. We absolutely encourage you to do so if you find value in what we're talking about. There's also a news tab. If you want to read through current news, right there you go, right there. No matter what's going on in the world, we rotate these out with different outlets, and you can click on these news stories as well. You can sign up for the newsletter at the bottom of the page. That is lfatv.us. One more time, lfatv.us. If you only listen to audio podcasts, well, you got that as well. I want to give a big shout out to the last few donors here. I'm sorry if I'm missing them. Patty Vest, $50, use where needed. Kit Kat Mar, $20, says, congratulations, give this to Olivia for her special day. Well, we've already had a couple donations for Olivia on her special day. And trust me, whatever she says I can record and put out there for the public, we will, because we know that you guys are all involved in that. Live from America with Jeremy Harrell. That's where you can go and get your audio podcast. The numbers have been growing a lot lately, so go get your podcast downloads today, wherever you download your podcasts from. Spotify, iTunes, Apple, iHeartRadio. Live from America with Jeremy Harrell. It gives you both Rise Up and LFA every single day. I think that's going to take us to prayer, folks, so please join with me. Remove those hats if you're wearing one, and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Absolutely. Dottie is jumping in on the donations today. Dottie sees value in LFA TV, wants it to keep going. Donated a whopping $20 donation. Thank you, girl. We really appreciate that. All right. In the third hour, starting at the third hour, top of the second, or the bottom of the second, top of the third hour, we have Congressman Randy Fine coming on from Florida. We're going to have a lot of discussion with Congressman Randy Fine about his campaign and about things going on in Florida and with the socialists in the Democratic Party, as well as talk about the SAVE Act and how that can be split up and possibly be passed, okay? So we got Congressman Randy Fine coming on in that top of that third hour. You're not going to want to miss that. Redline Live says, hey, Jeremy, can I get a birthday shout out? August 7th. Can I get a shout out? I hit the big 49. Woo! Redline, how's your boy doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Hope your podcast and your ministry podcast is doing well. How about happy birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Redline Live. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday and God bless. All right. First and foremost section today, we're actually not going to start with the elections last night. Don't worry, we're going to get into the elections. It'll probably be closer to the second hour of today's show. We will get into these elections, but first I want to set the tone of the show today, and I want to set it with President Trump's rock star welcome at the 2026 Patriot Games final last night. Of course, he was met with by Pat McAfee, who is arguably the highest paid sports podcaster that there is out there. And he took his show from being just a regular podcast to being the number one show, I believe, on ESPN. And he's just another one of those people that are against the status quo, right? I'm sure that the rest of Disney, which owns ESPN, and most of ESPN are not Trump fans, but Pat McAfee is. And Pat McAfee tells his audience that it is what it is. I would do this for any president who wanted to join in any games or any fun or any, competition that we're involved in. It just so happens that President Trump is the only one that ever wanted to do it. So President Trump went to the Patriot Games final last night, and he had a hell of a welcome. Now, this video does cut short of the national anthem. I wish this video had the whole thing in there, but it goes to show you how the country actually feels. Outside of politics, outside of being online and online threads and threads for content creators and podcast shows, the real world, whether he goes to a college game, whether he goes to an NFL game, whether he goes to the Patriot Games, whether he goes to a golf outing, whether he goes to a PGA Tour, wherever he goes, he gets massive welcome. And that is absolutely indicative of how many people voted for him, and not the people that you see online complaining, orange man bad, orange man bad.
At this time, will you please rise for our national anthem?
Amen. Amen. Video cut right there, by the way. Did you see the welcome he got? You see the smiles on everybody's face? You see everybody standing ovation? Eli, when you get outside of the online troll hatred, whether it be for one side or the other, when you get out in the real world paints a very different picture than online trolls and their never-ending opinions.
Yeah. especially today too. It's going to start getting worse with AI and whatnot. What we've seen. Nobody showed up to this when it was actually a bunch of people, or a bunch of people showed up to something they're trying to make you think nobody showed up to. But yeah, when you actually get out there in the world, like we report the bad stuff every day, and I sit here and it gets you down. But when you get out there, you think, oh, it's not as bad as it seems. It is bad, but it's a big world. It's a big country.
Well, unfortunately, when you go to those sanctuary cities, it feels bad. But those rural areas feel great. Those red states feel wonderful. Blue states, you feel a crunch. I get it. Now, the most vindictive people on this planet are former relevant female Democrats. Look, men always have an axe to grind, and that's an actual axe, not an axing questions, as Jasmine Crockett would say. Men always have an axe to grind and they get over it. But hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and hell definitely has no fury like a former relevant Democrat woman scorned. Do you realize every time Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or any of these has-beens, if Dianne Feinstein was still alive, she'd probably be like, sounding just like Mitch McConnell. But these scorned former relevant Democrat women, man, they can't stop keeping Trump out their mouth. So I want to paint a picture for you here. Imagine losing a nomination, losing a presidency twice, constantly losing. The only win you ever got in an election, the front runner died prior to the general election, talking about John F. Kennedy Jr. You stooped so low that you and your husband stole furniture from the White House. Imagine how much of a scumbag you have to be a multi-millionaire, to be one of the most powerful families in the world, basically creating your own little dynasty, and you've got to stoop so low to where you go and you steal furniture from the White House? Or how about this one? How about being such a disgusting scumbag that you fund a fake dossier, that you also then take the fake dossier to the FISA court with fake information and get a fake warrant on somebody, and you funded it? The same person still crying and screaming about President Trump today. I don't like what he's doing. We didn't like the fact that your New York home had its own server base headquarters in the basement. We didn't like the fact that classified information got hacked in that same basement, and then you took bleach bit and hammers to the stuff, and still not accountable. So excuse me and spare me the little violin and the cheese when Hillary Clinton says Donald Trump's beautification of America, beautification of D.C., and what he's done to the White House with his gold trimmings, it's absolutely disgusting. No, you sack of potatoes, you rotting sack of has-been, you are disgusting, Hillary Clinton.
I think there'll have to be some, you'll probably have to take down the arch, which he is determined to put up, which I think is just a terrible idea. I think we'll have to worry about the reflecting pool, because it's not going to be fixed by the time he leaves, assuming he leaves. So there's going to be a long list. I'm making a list.
Oh,
Are you making a list? Are you going to de-gold
You're
the
not going
horses?
to be alive.
De-gold the horses, take
At that
down.
time.
Have you seen them up close?
Gold. Yeah, I saw a
crazy.
picture.
Feels like Saddam Hussein. I mean,
It is like,
seriously.
you know what? That's a very, when I was in Baghdad after the fall of Saddam Hussein, I had meetings. I was then a senator. I had meetings in some of his palaces, and they were quite reminiscent of what we are seeing in our own White House. It's just insane.
Is that hard for you to watch?
It's
Or just
sad.
they're like, I'll
You know
take
what?
down the
It's
gold?
sad
It's sad
me.
to steal
It's
furniture
sad
from the
that
taxpayers. That's
so
what's sad.
tapied up, and it is. It's a reflection of his narcissistic personality and his need to
Right.
feel important, including sticking gold embellishments all over the walls of the
Yeah.
Oval Office.
Well, at least he actually added things, Eli, to the Oval Office and not took things from the Oval Office, you slimy piece of trash. At least he did that.
Yeah, 100%. Damn Skippy. it's hard for me to even respond to these things anymore because I'm so sick and tired of the fact that this walking shit stain is still getting interviewed about anything. Why do we care about anything she has to say? Who's like, hey, you know what? We need to get Hillary Clinton on the show to see what she thinks about this. Who gives a shit? It's like asking anybody else on the street at this point. Hey, random person, what do you think about what Trump said? That's what I see. I'm so sick and tired of these people still getting spotlight after they've done their job and they're done and over with.
At least when you ask somebody on the side of the street, what do you think of the president? They're taxpayers that actually do have an opinion. This woman gave away her opinion a long time ago when she broke the law and wasn't held accountable. This woman gave away her opinion a long time ago when she stooped down to sewer levels to steal from the White House. Yeah, nobody really cares. But hell hath no fury like a former relevant Democrat woman scorned. Right? You know, look, I'll say this. I'm not a big fan of all the gold. But Donald Trump is, and he's the president of the United States. He basically decorated that place like Mar-a-Lago, which was always bought and built for, or bought for, to be a second White House. A vacation White House. You don't have to be a fan of all. You know what I wasn't a fan of? I wasn't a fan of transgender circuses doing backflips down the hallway during the celebration of our Lord's birth. I wasn't a fan of that in the White House. I sure was not a fan of the drag queens and the LGBTQ assistants and czars and staffers who were stealing luggage from airports, who were doing transgender backflips half naked in a real circus in the White House. I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of staffers actually getting railed by other dudes taking video and picture of it in the Senate building and in the buildings of Congress. I absolutely was not a fan of Hunter Biden doing coke in the White House and a bag of cocaine being found in the White House. Damn sure wasn't a fan of that. Damn sure wasn't a fan of Hunter Biden. Eli, remember that 4th of July when all the Bidens were out on the balcony and Hunter's kept coming over in the corner and he's like, comes back all wide-eyed like this, watches some fireworks for a little bit more. Oh, look at the fireworks. Goes back in the corner. Comes back. Oh. I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of the cocaine in the White House, found in the White House. I wasn't a fan of any of it. So spare me. I don't want to hear your complaints about gold trimming in the White House. Now, somebody that Eli impersonates very well, Nancy Pelosi. Anybody that knew of Joe Biden's condition when he was at his worst there at the end of his campaign should be held accountable. What? I didn't know he was sick. Are you drunk or stupid? Have you been hitting the vodka a little bit hard? Or did Paul Pelosi lend you his hammer? Which one is it? You didn't know Joe Biden had issues? Well, let's hear Nancy Pelosi.
When I was Speaker, I saw the president all the time. But when I wasn't, then I saw maybe 3 times that whole year. And so I didn't know, and I think he had his sort of ups and downs. And when he had when I saw him one time, he was giving me the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Right.
So that was a short event, and he was perfectly fine that day, I thought. And so I didn't know. But I do think that those who did know should have acted upon that information, whatever that means.
His staff and his family both, you mean?
Well, whoever knew.
Yeah.
Whoever knew. The staff is saying the family knew, the family saying the staff knew. I don't know.
But they should have acted sooner.
They should have, because this was a great man.
This was a great man. What? You didn't know? Tell me, Nancy Pelosi, when you were sipping that Absolute, and he said this.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
You didn't know something was wrong there? You didn't know something was wrong when he said, I no more think of myself as old as I am than fly. Didn't think something was wrong there? You didn't think something was wrong with him when he was talking about Corn Pop being a bad dude and how he learned a lot about cockroaches the summer he spent with black kids swimming with them in a pool? Or that ice cream has bones? You didn't think there was anything wrong with him when he was wandering off the G20 stage or off the G20 picture? And Giorgia Meloni from Italy had to go and grab him and be like, come over here, Joe. Didn't know that then? How about the times that he fell up the stairs? How about the times that he fell down the stairs? How about the times that he fell on a bike? How about the times that he got lost, almost walked off stage? How about the times when the Secret Service had to stand incrementally 10, 15 feet apart so that they could show him which way to go so he'd follow the next guy? Now go here, now go here. And he was getting lost in the Rose Garden. Or when he was sniffing the Easter Bunny. You didn't know that? You didn't know then? It was just new to you? Or about when he went on The Breakfast Club and said,
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
And Hunter was the smartest guy he knew. You didn't know that then? Liar. You knew that. Just like the Republican leadership probably knows that Mitch McConnell's dead as a doornail. You scumbags in D.C. D.C. needs an enema. Just like Jack Nicholson said in Batman, this town needs an enema. Or when Heath Ledger was Joker, I'm going to give it to him. These guys aren't even high-class criminals. They're low-class criminals. They're low-class corrupt officials. They laugh in our face, and we know what they're doing. Madison Cawthorn is no longer in Congress because he exposed what they were doing. How long do you think I'll last? Drunk liar. I know a few of those, Eli. Eli, how many drunk liars have we come in contact with lately? Lots. People built for that. People that you would think they came from D.C. because they act so much like them. Hell hath no fury like a former relevant Democrat woman scorned. Just when you thought it couldn't get more low class, just when you thought it couldn't get more low rent, just when you thought it couldn't get more disgusting, Richard Rachel Maddow does a segment about President Trump's possible assassination or attempted assassination, or at least the risk of the threat from the Iranians. We showed you that 2 days ago, where President Trump exited the other side of the Air Force One, got in the catering truck, went to the other plane, the other Air Force plane, and then flew him safely to the UK. Imagine laughing about it. I thought you couldn't get any more low than when people are like, what was this ruse that he did? Playing musical chairs. This was an amazing thing that the Secret Service does. We've spent a lot of time talking trash about the Secret Service, but the Secret Service does something good for a change. And it almost sounds like Richard Rachel Maddow wanted President Trump to die. Watch this.
Now I'm very pleased to say it's time for the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell, which is more of a pleasure for me to say than usual because the New York Times has just posted a headline on the front page of the New York Times website, which reads, Trump hid in a catering container to sneak out of Turkey. And honestly, that news has just broken. Trump hiding in a catering cart. And the thing I want most in the world upon hearing that news is to hear Lawrence O'Donnell explain it to me. And God bless you, Lawrence. Please tell me that you will.
It is issue number one in this hour of coverage. We're going to be relying on the Washington Post.
Why is that funny? It is issue number one. Issue number one? Is that funny? You low IQ retard? That's funny? And you're laughing? All right, what else we got?
Broke the story a couple hours before the New York Times. And it's one of the many examples of how Donald Trump has lost control. He didn't just lose control of which version of Air Force One he got to use. He lost complete control in this story.
He lost control because they controlled the situation. Is that what you're saying? Donald Trump, the story here isn't that the Iranians had a credible threat to kill the President of the United States of America, but the story is that Donald Trump lost control and didn't get to choose which Air Force One he flew on. Sounds to me like he was in perfect control. Sounds to me like his control was... Sounds to me like he did exactly what he wanted to do. And he faked out so many people that you're mad. It's almost like they want him dead. Isn't it? Do you guys realize what would happen if the President of the United States was assassinated today, 2026, regardless of who it is? Instant World War III. That's number one. Instant World War III, especially knowing that President Trump left instructions to J.D. Vance, what J.D. Vance has already confirmed to what will happen to Iran if they were to successfully kill him. So instant World War III would happen. So all you people out there going, oh, Donald Trump's war of choice and this never-ending war. The President of the United States gets assassinated by a foreign country, you're in a never-ending war. Possibly the last war. How stupid can you be? So you would rather have Donald Trump dead and go into a world war that will be never-ending than to have him alive dealing with a terrorist state. Is that what you're saying? You people are sick, insufferable, and retarded, and you don't even deserve to have a mouth, a voice, your speech, nothing. That's how sick you people are. But thanks to the good old United States of America and what we fight for, dumbasses like you do get to say stuff. But again, it's almost like they want him dead, and they're pissed that it didn't happen. Now, the other day when we were reporting this, somebody in the live chat had said something very common sense and very profound. It really sucks that this is the news because this puts Donald Trump's life in jeopardy and it shouldn't even ever got out. Well, we now know who did leak that out, and it wasn't the New York Times, as Richard Maddow just said. It was actually the Washington Post. The Washington Post was the very first people to put that out. They're the ones that put that information out. They put Donald J. Trump's life in jeopardy. The Washington Post should be held accountable for that. Don't you think? They're the ones with media credentials. They're the ones that saw what was going on. And when they figured out what happened, they went back and got their footage and they released it to the world. It was global by the time we reported it, so it was news. Sherry says, Jeremy, what does YouTube say about that, Jeremy? I could care less. I'm not going over there today. They're not worth my time today. The Patriots over there can fight that out. Because there's good Patriots over there that stomp those idiots into the ground. Who cares what they say? They're irrelevant. Like I said, they don't have a voice today. They don't have a tongue. Like Brad Pitt and Troy, you will roam the underworld today with no eyes, no tongue, no ears. You will hear nothing. You will see nothing. You will say nothing. That's what the scum over there deserves.
Candidly, this was a surreal story to cover. The initial discussions, the initial tip, and then looking into it, I kept finding myself saying, what am I missing? Is this true?
President Trump was seen boarding Air Force One at 8:24 p.m. local time on July 8th. But actually, according to the Post, and you can see here, Trump and several of his aides were secretly shuttled minutes later onto this airport catering truck, which was elevated and positioned at a door out of the view of the cameras. Now, the Post reports that the president was on that catering truck when it pulled away from Air Force One at 8:30 p.m., secretly bringing him to a smaller plane, an Air Force C-32A, making the Air Force One that everyone thought he was on a decoy that still had the reporters who thought...
That footage that I showed you, that you just saw there again, that Caitlin Collins from CNN was reporting on, was first put out by the Washington Post. Remind me who owns that again? Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was rubbing arms elbows with President Trump when they went overseas to the Middle East, when President Trump brought all the largest business owners of NVIDIA, SpaceX, Amazon, all those, and Jeff Bezos was there. Hey, Jeff, you own the WAPO, right? You own the WAPO, what's the name for it? I can't remember the nickname that people use for the WAPOs, but Washington Post. Either way, there's a nickname for them. I can't remember what it was. Shit Post or something. But either way, they deserve to be held accountable for that. They put the President Trump's life in danger because now they can never do that again. The Secret Service is going to have to come up with another crafty way to do something. And they should be held responsible for that. David Goody says, mainstream media is involved with treasonous acts against America. Yes, they are. Oh, absolutely. The Compost. That's what it is. Washington Compost. That's the nickname. Thank you very much for that. The Washington Compost. So President Trump actually spoke on that matter. He spoke on that leak by the Washington Compost. And this is that moment right here.
Well, it's only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
What's the nature of the threat?
I guess there was a threat out there. I didn't really ask too much about it. I get a lot of threats.
Guess there was a threat out there. I didn't know anything about it. I get a lot of threats. I do what they say because it's about safety. Hear that, Compost? Safety. Again, the United States of America's president dies. It's world catastrophe. It's markets crashing. It's World War III instantly. It's nukes eventually. I don't care who the president is of the United States. An assassination in 2026 on a president of the United States of America will bring hell to follow. Guaranteed. Now, CNN, you already saw what Richard Maddow did, turned it into a President Trump has lost control even of what Air Force One he's on. CNN then complains, well, what about the journalists that still went on that plane? President Trump put their life in danger. We'll talk about that after you watch this nonsense.
And Compton, how amazing what she is telling the world tonight with this very plain, simple language, which is truth is paramount. Don't lie about it. This is history. And I think this is where the administration has gone wrong. Yes, the president had to be protected at all costs in the face of the Iranian threat that we now know that they felt they had on hand.
She could stop right there. The president of the United States has to be protected at all costs. Did it say the media has to be protected at all costs? No, it didn't. Not to say that you just scapegoat them, put them in a plane and let them die, because that wouldn't happen either because of the security of both planes. But the fact that what she just said is the president of the United States' life is the only life that matters in that scenario, in that situation. The president of the United States takes priority. Listen, she said it.
This is history. And I think this is where the administration has gone wrong. Yes, the president had to be protected at all costs in the face of the Iranian threat that we now know that they felt they had on hand. But look, they got him safely, thank goodness, on a third airplane, and they got him away. That's all good. There's a couple of things, though, that are highly problematic. I don't subscribe to the notion it was a decoy plane, because my question is this. If it was not safe for the president to be on that flight, how was it safe for the media to be on that flight and to be lied to, not to be told the truth? Yeah, again, to be lied to. Because the thing is, it was the U.S. military flying the plane. The U.S. military does not put civilians unknowingly at risk. The president was gone. He wasn't being threatened anymore, presumably. But the civilians on board were still under threat, and the U.S. military, under orders, flew that plane. Somebody needs to tell me why that's a legal order, because it's not what the U.S. military does. And I think the other issue that the New York Times, of course, is beginning to explore in detail is the Iranian capability in the region. What we know is U.S. intelligence has been watching very carefully. The Iranians are improving in their precision, in their accuracy of their weapons, in their mobility. In other words, their ability, even while under attack from the U.S. and the allies in the region, their ability to move around and plan and stage attacks. And their precision is something, and their accuracy of their weapons is something that the U.S. is going to have to deal with now for years to come in the region. This is a new level of accuracy by the Iranians.
Okay. A couple things about that. Number one, the media doesn't like it. Tell them to pool all their money together, get their own private plane, and meet the president where he goes and tell him to shut up. Number two, when the media goes on Air Force One, it's the same level of understanding of what could happen as somebody that signs up for the military. You know, all these lefties are like, oh, we don't send our sons and daughters to go to war. Name me a time in history where a son or a daughter didn't have to be deployed in some conflict somewhere. Name me one. It's always happened. But it's different when it's under Donald Trump, right? It's like these people are told, oh, they're brainwashed into signing up for the military. They don't know what Donald Trump's going to do for them. They don't realize they're signing on a dotted line that he could send them to die in his place. Yes, they do realize it. And if you've never signed your name on that dotted line, another reason to shut up. If you don't get an opinion if you've not been there. You don't get an opinion on January 6th if you weren't there and you don't know the truth, period. You don't get an opinion on anything in the military if you didn't sign up or you have family members that are actively in there, or you grew up in a military family traveling around the world. You don't get an opinion on things that happen anywhere if you've not been there or done that or seen something or anything. You don't get an opinion on how the media covers President Trump on the campaign trail if you've never been in with the media covering President Trump on the campaign trail. You don't know shit, but yet you talk like you do. Never been to the White House, never met a president, never been on the campaign trail with him, never been on the front lines fighting for freedom, was nowhere near January 6th, but yet you've got an awful lot to say about it, don't you? Scumbags. Third thing I'll say about that. That plane was the most protected plane in the world outside of the one Trump was on. Taxpayers pay for that. We pay for that. So that plane that those media reporters and journalists were on, probably the best place you want to be. But just by chance that something happens, at least the president is kept safe from harm. Period. You people act like all of a sudden that everybody in the world has equal status. It doesn't work that way. Equality is not real. Or equity, I mean. Everybody's different. You're built different. You have different skills. You are different in a social class. You are different in a financial class. Deal with it. Shut up. Grow up. Grow a pair of balls. Get out there. Roll up your sleeves and do things rather than complain about things. I'm so sick of this generation. And I'm not just talking about the generation that's young. I'm talking about the generation we're in, where everybody seems to think that they're more important than the world believes they are. Bomb threat. When President Trump was at those Patriot games, there was initially reports of a bomb threat across the road. Suspicious van, suspicious individual. Ended up not being a bomb threat, but here is the local news reporting on that.
We've got to get to some breaking news now, just out about President Trump's visit here to Northeast Ohio. CBS News has confirmed a bomb threat near President Trump's visit at Spire Academy later this afternoon. CBS says a state trooper on the ground did confirm there is a law enforcement situation at the McDonald's, and there is a confirmed bomb threat. Now you're going to look at some live pictures. We have a crew right now on the road headed to that situation. Now we do understand there are some roads shut down for now around that event. This is going to be continued breaking news throughout that area, so you'll have to tune in. We'll get you live updates here in this newscast and then over on Channel 19 starting at noon.
Yeah. So, seems like every week now, doesn't it? Now, the left will say, well, President Trump shouldn't do things he does and says the things he says. That just goes to show how ignorant and dumb you really are. That just goes to show why nobody should talk to you. That's why I'm not in that chat today. I've thought about this for the last few weeks, and I've said, you know what? It's not even worth trying to reach these people. These people are the fringe. These people are the trolls in life. These people are the ones that call in bomb threats and try to do exactly what they said President Trump did, incite riots. That's what they try to do. They are nothing. They have nothing. They'll never be anything, and they're worthless people. Why would we give them our time of day? Now, President Trump was talking to, again, every week there seems to be something else. Another attempted assassination, another possible assassination thwarted, a bomb threat called in where President Trump is. Oh, didn't we just deal with something like this last week in California? Or somewhere out west with a golf course? Same stuff. Somebody arrested with guns and ammo and heavy armor-piercing bullets and ammo and found in their house. Weird stuff in notebooks talking about President Trump and casing out the Secret Service. This is an every week thing, and it never happened to Joe Biden. You scumbags on the left. This never happened to that sack of shit who pissed his pants and didn't know where he was half the time. Your side does this. Oh, don't let me forget Charlie Kirk. Does President Trump need to call in a national emergency over elections so that those scumbag people, those crazy individuals that I just talked about, never get back in power again so we fix our elections? Absolutely. Absolutely he does. And he was talking with Wayne Allen Root about that last night and says crazier things have happened when Wayne Allen Root said, are you going to call in a state of national emergency over these elections? Because you have the power to do it as president. Here's how that went.
Okay. Because it's so hard to get the Senate to do anything. Now they're on recess. They don't get anything done if they never get the Save America Act done. You have the right to declare a national security emergency for elections. And the Supreme Court ruled in 1983 under Reagan that INS versus Chadha, that if you declare a national security emergency as the President of the United States, they can't challenge it. It can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. So if you do this in the next month, we will get photo ID, proof of citizenship, and a limit to mail-in ballots. And you don't even need the Senate vote.
Happened. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that. So let me finish with a couple things. Dr. Fauci, can't you challenge the auto pen? You should challenge in court
we are doing
the auto pen.
We are doing.
You are doing it. Okay, good.
What has to happen? I mean, I've become an expert on the auto pen thing.
So, to the question of, will you call in a state of emergency over elections? Donald Trump said, I'll just say it like this and leave it here. Stranger things have happened. Kenria's mom, Jeremy on fire. Fun mom, Jeremy, you're on fire today. Well, full of piss and vinegar, I guess. Not the same kind of piss as Joe Biden, but still full of piss and vinegar. What do you think in the chat? Don't give a shit about the live chat over on YouTube. What do you think in the Rumble live chat? What do you think? Should he do this? Did he give Congress a chance? Did he try to do it the right way? And they absolutely sidestepped the will of the American people on both sides when it comes to this? Want to give a big shout out to Vita Rosa. Vita Rosa. $100 donation says, boycott Amazon. Bezos is a pig. Girl, I love you. We need to meet up for dinner again. You, me, Sabrina, and the kids. Got to do that soon. I know we talk about it all the time, but we got to do it. We just got to do it. Mary says, yes, call in a national emergency. Tommy Lance, absolutely. Let's do it, Fireboss. Yes. Do it now, says Kay Lewis. Yes, Patty says. C. Engel, absolutely he should. Kenria's mom, F him on YouTube. Exactly. I don't really care. Scorched earth on these elections, says Octubre. I think so, says Charlotte Curry. Veronica, yes, we should. Biden sucks. Yes, Keith Day, do it. Vita Rosa puts that thumbs up. RJC, the Senate pissed away. What was that again? The Senate pissed away. And I even got mad that JD didn't step into the Senate. Well, again, there's a strategy there. I'm not really mad at JD yet. But there is a strategy there. And I think Donald Trump is going to catch him with their pants down. Something that a Democrat likes to hear. Especially when it comes to little ones. Kids that they twerk on and bring LGBTQ trans to twerk on them in libraries and read stories to them to make them feel good about it. So that obviously sparked a bunch of, Donald Trump's going to declare an emergency. I'm not going to have him.
Obvious. Trump just refused to rule out the possibility that he would declare a national emergency ahead of the 2026 midterm elections to delegitimize the results. Our newsroom has been reporting on this ever since he got reelected, that they would pull something like this. And well, watch for yourself.
Because it's so hard to get the Senate to do anything, now they're on recess, they don't get anything done. If they never get the Save America Act done, you have the right to declare a national security emergency for elections. And the Supreme Court ruled in 1983 under Reagan that INS versus Chadha, that if you declare a national security emergency as the President of the United States, they can't challenge it. It can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. So if you do this in the next month, we will get photo ID, proof of citizenship, and a limit to mail-in ballots. And
Let
you
me
don't
just
even
say that
need
stranger
the
things
Senate
have
vote.
happened. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
This is all part of a greater scheme. They're pulling a misinformation campaign that will only accelerate as we steamroll towards the midterm elections. They're doing everything they can to discredit the legitimacy of the midterms because they know they're set for a landslide loss. Therefore, they're trying to make it seem like our elections are not safe. They're saying people need ID to vote in our elections, right? That sounds like common sense. Well, guess what? You actually need ID when you register to vote. Okay, so all of this is scare tactics. It's trying to trick people into thinking our elections are not safe and secure because they know they're screwed and they're going to face serious punishment from the left. Their plan to rig the...
Two things here. Number one, I told you they've been screaming that we're going to steal the election for months because they know what's coming down the pipe. They'll lie to you and say, they know what's coming, but they know it's coming. That's why they've already said that. Number two, you do have to have your ID to register to vote. So why shouldn't you have to show your ID to make sure that that registered name, when you go to vote, you're that person? Number three, when you register to vote, if the SAVE Act passed, all you have to do then is show that you are an American citizen. You can do that with birth certificate. You can do that with your if you need to show a proof of your name change, your marriage certificate. But guess what? On page 19 of the original SAVE Act, which is, by the way, still there, there is a segment there, a section there that says, if you don't have all of this stuff, then don't worry. You can fill out an affidavit. And everybody has to go re-register to vote and just go fill out an affidavit then. So if you don't have your birth certificate, if you don't have your marriage license, if you don't have this, if you don't have that, fill out an affidavit of your name change, okay? But you will show that you're an American citizen, and you will show that ID on the day of voting. What sense does it make to show your ID to register but not show your ID when you go vote to match the face with the registered name? That makes no sense. And yes, I told you already, I don't know why this is a big shock to anybody. We are not letting you take any of the houses back. We're not letting you take the White House. We're not letting you take the Senate, and we're not letting you take the House of Representatives. You had your time to cheat in elections. Now it's our time to make sure you can never cheat again. And that means keeping you out. We'll keep you out. Stop adopting socialism and communism, which we actually have a law against passed in the 1950s. Deal with it. Or don't. Or don't get mail-in ballots, because the Postmaster General is already saying, I'm not giving you a damn thing in that state if you don't comply with handing over your voting rolls. And if you don't think that we have a voting problem, if you don't think that our elections are ripe for fraud, then how come 880,000 names were just taken off a voting roll in Oregon, forced off by Judicial Watch and Tom Fitton? 6 million altogether, year to date. Judicial Watch is responsible for clearing 6 million names off voting rolls that are ineligible, either dead, moved to a different state, or illegal alien. 6 million. 6 million would decide an election or not. Guarantee you all those 6 million were voting Democrat overwhelmingly, or at least ballots were coming back with that party affiliation on them. So if you've got 6 million voting rolls, names that have already been cleared off the voting rolls, which you don't have to be a genius. Google's free. Look it up. Almost 1 million in one swoop in Oregon last week alone. 6 million altogether, and he's not done. If you think we have secure elections, then tell me, how in the hell did 6 million names that shouldn't have been on those voter rolls get removed? How do they keep finding these if we've got the most secure elections in history? Are you going to argue against that too? Are you going to say fake news? Are you going to say that didn't happen? That's why you're a dumb piece of shit and nobody should talk with you. Speaking of dumb POSs, how about David Axelrod and Adam Kinzinger giving their expert advice on CNN?
National emergency over the midterms. How likely do you think that is?
I mean, I've been holding that it's not super likely, but we need to be ready for it. Because, again, I think it's something, it's to me, it's impossible to imagine how you can say it is a national security emergency, election security, particularly when every attempt to say that the election was stolen has been rejected in courts and no.
There's nothing stopping him from saying it other than
There really isn't, and you'd have to take it to the Supreme Court. I mean, like I said, I haven't been worried, but of late, I would say I'm becoming increasingly a little more worried. But at the end of the day, if he does declare it, what is it that he can implement? Can he implement things like, you know, voter ID or no mail-in ballots for every state across the union? Probably not. And so is it going to be deployment of ICE, deployment of Homeland Security? I think we need to be cautious of it. But the point is, even talking about it damages people's faith in our elections. And when you damage faith in elections, that's how democracies are ultimately destroyed, is when people don't believe their voice counts.
Guess you shouldn't have stolen the 2020 election then, shouldn't you? Eli, do me a favor, because people have a hard time doing the most basic thing. Ask this question on any, I don't care what search engine you use. Did Judicial Watch get over 800,000 names removed off the voting rolls in Oregon? Did Judicial Watch get 800,000 names removed off the voting rolls in the state of Oregon? And let's see what producer Eli comes up with. This will show you, ladies and gentlemen, that search engines are free. And all you have to do is go and look them up. Over 800,000 in Oregon, which the governor even put a statement out about. And 6 million so far to date from all the states that he's filed these lawsuits in. Eli, do you have that information yet?
I do see something. When I Googled it on Threads, I did see 3 days ago, just in Judicial Watch removes 6 million names.
Oh, wait, hold on. Where was that? Where was that you just got that?
Threads. Damn it. Of course, I'm not signed up with it, so I can't go to the actual article. What a pain. Judicial Watch, 800,000 dirty names to be removed from Oregon voter rolls.
And what's that? What outlet is that?
Judicialwatch.org.
Oh. And I guarantee if you go to judicialwatch.org rather than typing stupid shit about fake news on YouTube, I guarantee you that the documents from the court documents are there. Can't lie. Can't lie. He's a nonprofit organization who takes people to court and wins all the time. Man, isn't that weird? 6 million people that shouldn't have been on there? Well, there's your proof of voter fraud right there. That's your proof. That's all the proof you need. Right there. Now, we're going to take a little break from me. I know you're probably sick of hearing from me, and we're going to go listen to James O'Keefe, because James O'Keefe, once again coming through, ladies and gentlemen, investigates duplicate absentee ballot return envelopes in Detroit, Michigan. Goes door to door to interview the affected voters. And this is what he got. But I bet this is fake too, right? It's always all fake, even though it gets put right in front of your retarded faces. James O'Keefe.
If you see here, you've got 2 different absentee ballots under your name.
That's illegal, right?
That's illegal. It's against the law, yeah. Oh shit.
You could you scrape one of them off or something?
Can I scrape it off?
OMG has discovered duplicate absentee ballot return envelopes in Detroit, Michigan with shockingly different signatures. So we visited voters who may have been affected to interview them on Michigan's primary day, August 4th.
But it's your signature is on both of these.
Okay, then what?
And it was
Mistake then. If they sent me, they must have sent me too.
They must have made a mistake and sent you too.
Yeah, disregard it. Don't bother me no more.
Oh, she slammed the door. Myrtle Harvey, the voter, admitting the city of Detroit has made a mistake, sent her two, which she filled out. One of the addresses on a duplicate absentee ballot return envelope led us to an abandoned building. The local police told us that this is an abandoned building. One was stamped as received September 8th. Hello. Do you guys know if this is an abandoned building?
Yeah.
When's the last time people lived here? You just drank here? And many of the voters reacted to our questions with hostility. 2020 election, do you remember that?
So what about?
What about it says September 26, 2020, and then October 3rd, 2020.
I ain't worried about no 20. This is 26.
This is 2026.
Yeah, well, what the fuck is the 2020 got to do with it?
What the fuck does 2020 have to do with it?
Go, get off my porch.
Get off your property.
Go get the fuck up.
Okay. You'll notice Margaret here, look at the M there. On the other M, look at the M there. I'm not a handwriting expert, we'll leave that to you. And it appears as though nobody's lived here for a few years. And you can see this is not a stable place to step. My Nome Price's name was listed twice. You can't tell me? I just want to see, was that a mistake?
I can't tell you. They probably sent her 2 ballots and she just signed them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, what's that mean?
You can see we got the cars over there with the rims were being looked at.
Got to be careful of the music or else we'll get a flag on YouTube.
All right, we're just trying to make sure there's no fraud. All right, we're leaving. I can't hear what he's saying. The car's on. Can you turn?
From pointing from my house. Do you want me to get the dog?
Yeah, say, ladies and gentlemen, this is what mainstream media should be doing. Mainstream media should be going house to house to prove Republicans wrong. But they can't.
OMG obtained copies of duplicate absentee ballot return envelopes that were issued to individual voters. Take Lauren Christine Andretti, for example. What you are looking at are 2 separate absentee ballot return envelopes issued to her. One says ballot number 1691, and the other says 1692, a pretty serious discrepancy. Both were marked as received. However, these documents alone do not prove that 2 ballots were necessarily counted, and we're in the process of investigating that possibility, as we've now requested the complete qualified voter file history for all the subjects in this video. More on that later. More importantly, note how the signatures look drastically different. One envelope was signed in perfect cursive, the other was signed with illegible scribbling. It's hard to imagine these signatures came from the same person. Now, all of these records were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act to this building right behind me, the City of Detroit Law Department at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center on 2 Woodward Avenue. These are certified records from the City of Detroit. We even scanned the barcode on the return envelope to confirm that they're linked to the same voter ID number. That left us with a more immediate question. If someone showed up on primary day at the polling location in Michigan claiming to be this voter, what safeguards would election workers require before issuing a ballot in the name of Lauren Andretti?
Can you at least look to make sure that I'm in the right place? The name is Lauren Christine Andretti, but I forgot my ID.
It's okay. Did you fill out the paper? You can fill out this affidavit on the back. Fill a bit over it and fill out the back part.
I'm so excited to be able to vote, to exercise our right, and how great it is to be able to vote, not having to show your ID.
Yeah.
Yes.
As long as you sign that affidavit saying I am who I say I am. Who are we to say you are?
It sounds like the book. I am. What is it, Sam?
That's right. I am Sam.
So I am who I say I am, Sam said.
After the polling station showed us they were willing to give us Lauren Andretti's ballot without any form of ID, we visited Lauren's house. We wanted to ask if she was aware of these duplicate absentee ballot return envelopes from 2020. Unfortunately, we didn't find Lauren Andretti here, and it wouldn't be an OMG investigation without a random pedestrian getting involved. James O'Keefe here in Detroit, Michigan, outside of this address. How are you?
Hi.
May I ask you a question?
What's the question?
Do you know of a Lauren Christine Andretti that lives there?
Who are you working for?
I'm an investigative reporter.
It looks like somebody's taking you from that vehicle right there. That looks kind of weird to me.
We got a cameraman right there. Yeah, we're the news organization.
Okay, well I'm not giving you permission to take me, and I have a police officer on the line with me right now.
You could call. It's a reporter. You call the police. They're gonna call the police on us. That's okay. So, as I was saying, in the 2020 election, you'll see Lauren Andretti signed that signature right there, November the 1st. Also, another signature, a much different signature, also on November the 1st, 2000. Are you filming me?
I'm filming that guy filming me and everybody.
Why, sir? This story is not about you. It's about this address right here.
I understand that, but this doesn't look right.
Why doesn't it look right? Why do they always film me?
After that bizarre interaction, our next stop, the registered address of one Margaret Alma Bass, turned out to be a completely abandoned building.
You know, we're investigative reporters, so we're trying to be a little discreet. So there's no one actually living there? Not supposed to. Clearly very abandoned. We don't see any sign of life. These guys are staring at us. We got some neighbors here. So we're standing here in front of 16811 Greenfield Road in Detroit, Michigan. The local police told us that this is an abandoned building. You can see we got the cars over there with the rims were being looked at. This is wobbly. You see that this is very dangerous, and you can see there was a fire. This is not a stable place to step. Obviously, no one is up here, but this place, there's someone currently registered to vote. Margaret Bass voted in 2020 and 2024, according to the official GOP database. These are 2 absentee ballot envelopes with 2 signatures of Margaret A. Bass for the same election in 2020. You'll notice Margaret here, look at the M there. On the other M, look at the M there. I'm not a handwriting expert. We'll leave that
or
to
any
you.
of it.
Look at the A. In one signature, she puts an A. In the other signature, it's written out as Alma. One ballot was stamped as received September 8th. Hello. Do you guys know if this is an abandoned building?
Yeah.
This is abandoned? People haven't lived here?
People did leave.
When's the last time people lived here?
I don't know.
Wait, you guys live here? You just drank here? They've been drinking booze here, but they just told us that nobody lives here.
We're standing up to the powers that tried to discredit us, silence us, smear us, raid us, and throw us in jail.
So what do you guys think about all that? So if that's not fraud, then what is? If having dual signatures and all that, if that's not fraud, what is? If getting 6 million voters off a voting roll that shouldn't be there, which is the state's job to do that prior to every election and certify their election machines, which they don't, if that's not fraud, then what is? That to me is fraud. And let's say it's not. Let's say I'm wrong and there's no actual mischief agendas there. It's still incompetency and it still shows a fraudulent number of votes. Because mail-in ballots are coming in with duplicate names that are not the same, addresses that are not the same, meaning that it's the same name, same person, wrong address doesn't match. Right address, wrong name, signature doesn't match. Same name, completely 2 different signatures. Millions of people taking off voting rolls. People saying, I didn't do that. I never voted for that. People concerned that they might be in trouble because somebody voted for them in their name when they already voted. How is that not voter fraud? Back to the video here.
We are the media now.
We are the media
now.
Now,
one of the things that we've heard people say is, well, this was in 2020. This is 6 years ago.
She said something about 2020.
2020.
6 years ago. I don't know now. All I know in 2020 I had COVID. I don't know what was going on.
It took 3 to 4 years just to get these records and go through them. Part of the problem is a system that's so complex and so layered, it takes years even to get the information, let alone go through it analog style. Millions of documents that we've had to go through.
Do you recognize her signature?
Do you think that's her?
It might be her, but I don't know. I don't keep up with that. They probably sent her 2 ballots and she just signed them, I guess. I don't know. I mean, what's that mean?
At the next house, we couldn't tell whether the homeowner's pit bull was actually restrained. No one expected our security guard to walk straight toward it to find out.
I'm gonna get up and check. Careful.
Oh boy.
Are you for real? Like, what happened if that dog wasn't on a chain?
So you guys can go and watch James O'Keefe's video. He's got about another 9 minutes of that. But I got to tell you, folks, these, it's not about so much litigating 2020. It's about mitigating things that happened in 2020 so they don't happen again and being aware of it. Yes, we want to litigate 2020. We want to actually litigate it too. Not the 60 judges that threw it out with no standing. I hate that argument. 60 judges, including Trump judges, threw it out of court. None of them heard or allowed the actual evidence in court. They threw it out before it could even make its way there. A majority of them on standing, which again, I don't understand, because standing means you were not affected by this. You are not an affected party. You're not privy to this, or you don't have the ability, I should say, to bring this suit or this complaint because you are not a party that was directly affected. How is the voters of a state not directly affected? We asked that on those days. I remember those judges throwing it out, but they weren't throwing it out on merit. They didn't even look at the thousands of affidavits from people. They didn't even look at the video footage. They didn't even look at the thumbnails. They didn't even look at the machines and the data that was pumping out of those machines. They looked at none of that. So anytime anybody says, oh, there's 60 threw it out, not a single judge allowed the information in court. They'll all fall back on that. Just like they'll say, oh, Joe Biden created 13.6 million jobs, even though we proved yesterday that he only created 5.3 million private sector jobs, which is still amazing for him. I couldn't even believe there was that much. 2 million government jobs and the rest were bounced back. It's all lies. Every bit of it. Now, an Obama judge expands a block on key parts of President Trump's executive order on mail-in voting. But don't worry, this will only go so far, just like everything else. A federal judge on Tuesday blocked the U.S. Postal Service from restricting mail-in voting. U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani, an Obama appointee, expanded her previous block on President Trump's executive order on mail-in voting. The Boston-based judge previously blocked President Trump's order on his March 2025 executive order, specifically his attempt to create a federal voter list. In March of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order 14248, preserving and protecting the integrity of American electors, quote, free and fair and honest elections unmarried by fraud, errors, or suspicion are fundamental to maintaining our constitutional republic. The right, it's so nice to hear somebody actually refer to it as a constitutional republic, which it is, not a democracy. The right of American citizens to have their votes properly counted and tabulated without illegal dilution is vital to determining the rightful winner of an election. But this judge has thrown out her little bit of weight around, but don't worry, she'll be overridden. She'll be overridden on this. This is just its constant, we talked about it yesterday, lawfare. Lawfare from attorneys generals and judges. Don't worry, he'll win like he has every other case. And if he didn't outright win the case, like the tariffs, well, they set him up to use a different law to bring the tariffs back, and he did. And the tariffs have never stopped. Never. Now, this is the last story before we move on to some more election news, and this is the House GOP turned up the heat. Vendor ordered to turn over the records after New Jersey registered 6,600 non-citizens and hundreds actually cast those ballots. We talked about that. We don't need to rehash exactly what happened, but we do want to tell you that House Republicans are now demanding answers from the technology contractor at the center of New Jersey's explosive voter registration scandal after the state officials acknowledged that they found roughly 6,600 people who identified themselves as non-citizens on the ballot. House Judiciary Committee and the Committee on the House Administration sent a formal oversight letter to CEO Matt Cole on Tuesday, seeking documents and communications that could reveal who knew what, when they knew it, and why the problem was not disclosed publicly for 2+ years. The scandal erupted in July. We don't need to rehash that, but that's what it's all about, folks. And by the way, those were volunteered by the state of New Jersey so that Democrats could go, see, we are fighting voter fraud. We found 6,600. Good. Give us the rest. Give us the rest. Bring your best people. Bring your best staffers, your third-party moron CEOs. Bring them all. We'll all get in a room together and we'll go over it together on camera. And we'll find out how many illegal voters you actually have on those voter rolls. We'll find out. I'm up for it. You? Should be every state. Every state should have the cleanest voting rolls. If you don't think a state should have clean voter rolls, then you are all for election fraud. If you don't think that a state should have the people that are actually living in that state be the only people that are voting, and the people that live in that state are U.S. citizens that should be the only one voting, then you want voter fraud. And you want the Democrats to cheat. And you don't want free and fair elections. And you are a liar. Right back after Rise Up.
In the long history of the world, the struggle to survive has been a constant. The human spirit has been frequently tested. Every man has had his own struggle. Every man has made sacrifices. And every man has been pushed beyond their limits. Survival is crucial. The desire to be prepared has never wavered. Generations that came before us realized the importance of gaining every advantage. How you face adversity could change your life. Success depends on it. History is defined by it. Our spirit is fueled by it. Our strength comes in many forms. The strength to fight. The strength to overcome. The strength to believe. The strength to win. The strength to rise. Rise Up Coffee. Rise up to meet your challenge.
You can get your light and medium roast American pecan, both in regular and decaf, and you can get the dark rich Sumatra Gold, which is the dark roasted coffee, all roasted right here in Iowa. Get yours today, jeremyherald.com or lfatv.us. Hey, Eli, you know what I always wondered? I wonder how many of the so-called lefties that do watch on YouTube actually buy stuff from us. Hate our guts online, but buy the coffee and drink it. Probably wearing an LFA TV hat while saying, host is on some list somewhere.
Yeah, I could see them like buying the products just to like shoot them or destroy them or burn them and be like, ha, guess I showed them.
Yeah, thanks for the purchase. Also want to give a big shout out to OFP Farms, ofpfarms.com, promo code LFA. There they are right there, folks. Farm crafted goat milk and tallow skincare. Now, my wife used to do this. My wife used to do this for a long time, years actually, had her own business. And when I started LFA TV and I was gone constantly and I was on the road, she had to stop doing this. The reason why I tell you about that is because I understand the hard work that it goes into this. And I'll tell you, OFP Farms puts the hard work into it, folks. 15% off the entire month of August if you use promo code LFA. And Denise and Corey are working diligently day by day in their small farm with big love to produce the greatest goat milk and tallow skincare that you could possibly buy. That includes soap, lotions, beard and bath oils, deodorants, and more. Get box sets, get seasonal gift sets, and more at ofpfarms.com using promo code LFA. Big shout out to those folks over at the OFP Farms. All right? Okay. The State Department. The State Department has revoked over 175,000 visas to date for criminals and others during Trump's second term. Hey, can we get Ilhan Omar's revoked? That would be nice. C. Gao says, having a really good day. Thanks for the news, Jeremy. In New Jersey, escapee on the Gulf of America. Hey, that's awesome. We'll have a good time, and thank you for being here. I want to give a big shout out to Lonnie18. You know what she just said? I'm going to try to volunteer at the polls here in New Jersey. So much inspiration that gives. When I see people in our live chat say, you know what? I'm running for county clerk. I'm running for county commissioner. I'm running for school board. I'm helping somebody run. I'm out there knocking on doors. I'm handing out signs. I'm registering people to vote. I'm volunteering at our polling station. That gives me so much inspiration. You don't even know. We've been working on that for 5 years to get people involved. If you guys remember the stolen election of 2020, that night we started saying, okay, it's time to get regular people involved. It's time to get rid of these rhinos. And how many rhinos have we purged from the Republican Party in that time? Jeremy, CBS did a story on the largest truck stop in Iowa. Yes, it's not too far from my home. Wow, that place. Do you know about that truck stop? It's amazing. Yes, I do know about that truck stop. It's also the #1 human and sex trafficking point on a highway in the country. It is a big place. It's only about 15 miles from my house. I've been there many, many times. It is an amazing place, but a lot of trafficking goes through there because 800 plus trucks will be parked in that parking lot at any given time. It is the world's largest truck stop. It's pretty amazing, but that part isn't. So if they can get that figured out, then great. But I didn't know that they did a special on it, so I'll be over there to check it out. The U.S. State Department announced on Monday that the administration has revoked the visas of over 175,000 individuals since President Trump took office for the second term. The majority of these visas were revoked due to law enforcement encounters for a range of criminal activities, with assault, driving under the influence, theft, and drug crimes being the lead causes. A significant share of these visas were revoked for reckless driving, sexual assault, child abuse, fraud, and embezzlement, and other crimes. The department added, this is good news. This is what we want to happen, folks. As of right now, with voluntary and involuntary, President Trump is responsible for removing 4 million illegal aliens, close to 4 million illegal aliens out of this country. We need double that for the next 3 years. That's what we need. Double that every year for the next 3 years. And then we'll be doing something good. But this that the State Department is doing under Marco Rubio, I'm all for it.
We have some breaking news now. The State Department has just exclusively revealed to Fox that it's revoked 175,000 visas since the start of President Trump's second term. That is up from the 100,000 in December. The majority of the new revocations were over criminal activity, including sexual assault, child abuse, fraud, reckless driving, and embezzlement. Multiple visas were also revoked for immigrants who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yep. Oh, I'm just typing something to somebody here on YouTube real quick. This guy just sells supplements and he's a fraud like Donald Trump, but yet you're in there watching every day, contributing to my job. Thank you very much. Just you being there is a contribution to what we do here at LFA TV. Without you, LFA TV doesn't thrive. With you, LFA TV thrives. So thank you, everybody on YouTube, for giving us your undivided attention every day and allowing me to mentally dominate you and command your daily viewership right here on LFA TV. Let's get into some wins. Look at this. MAGA's dead. How often do we do this, folks? MAGA is dead. MAGA's dead. MAGA's dead. Well, then tell me how these MAGA-endorsed candidates keep winning every single time we have another election. Pete Stauber wins Tom Emmer wins. Brad Finstad wins. Michael Alfonso wins. Jerry Carl wins. Gary Palmer wins. Who else we got here? Rhett Marquez wins. Michelle Fishback, not James Fishback, wins. Brian Steele wins. Derek Van Orden wins. Scott Fitzgerald wins. Glenn Grothman, excuse me. And to round out the bottom here, Todd Wide, Tom Tiffany, and Darlene Graham, which is the sister of Lindsey Graham. Boy, it seems like to me that President Trump's endorsement record actually gets higher every single time that there's another primary. Now, will his endorsement record actually translate into the general? It will in some states. It won't in others. But I'll tell you what is not going to happen. We're not giving you control back of the House. We're not giving you control back of the Senate. And we're not giving you control back of the White House. You're going to have to take it from us. And you're not going to do it as long as the Save America Act is not in there and fraudulent elections and fraudulent names are on voting rolls. Here's what I would do if I was President Trump. If it was me. And again, I'm not president, so I've not been in that position, so I can't really have too much of an opinion on how he handles things. But in a hypothetical situation, if this was me, I would say, I'm going to call in a state of national emergency over these elections unless every state gives us their voting rolls by the end of August. You have till the end of August, which is roughly 18 days, just shy of 3 weeks. Those dumbasses out there who do Common Core, okay? I'm going to call in a state of a national emergency unless every one of you hands over those voting rolls by the end of August. You have 18 days, clock starts now. How fast do you think they'd do it? Well, it would show fraud. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they wouldn't, and maybe they would try to fight Donald Trump in court, but he has the absolute executive authority to do this. He can't even be challenged on this. It wouldn't go anywhere. He has the unbridled executive authority to do exactly what Wayne Allen Root said. There's nothing they could do to stop it. There's no Supreme Court that would stop it. Nobody. So, what do you think? Should President Trump offer an ultimatum of his own? Either give us your dirty voter rolls so we can clean them off and have somewhat clean elections, or I call a state of emergency over these fraudulent elections and I come and confiscate them anyways. How do you want to play this game? Because we can play it one of two ways. My way or the highway. Which way would you like to do or go? That's what I think should happen. Absolutely. Force their hands. Absolutely. Old Dog says he does have a deadline at which point he is going to do that, and they're walking right into it. Old Dog, you are ahead of the curve. You think exactly how I'm thinking. But it is nice to watch it all play out, isn't it? With about 3,000 live viewers here on Rumble, I want to say thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. If you've not yet reached down and clicked that thumbs up, then please do that. We got Congressman Randy Fine coming on in exactly 20 minutes. So let's get through what happened with the elections last night. Brilliant and beautiful former NFL reporter Michelle Tafoya wins the GOP Senate primary in Minnesota. That's a good win we got last night. That's a good win. Now, it is Minnesota, and you know what happens up there, right? You know what happens up there. Mini Somalia. She did win, though. And she is a Fox News contributor. She won the Republican primary. She did well in the inner primaries. She promises to crush fraud. Great state to promise that in. All those Leering centers and daycare centers that they're just shut down. You know, that's another weird thing. If these businesses were legit, the Leering centers and the daycare centers and the food the food providing companies for underprivileged kids, where are they now? Why'd they close down? You telling me that Nick Shirley closed them down because of his reporting on them and they were legit? Or does it sound more like Nick Shirley shut them down because of his reporting and they were not legit? Where are all those daycares now? They just seem to be gone. Where's those Leering centers? Well, they're just gone. So if there's any place where you're going to crush fraud, that is the place to do it. She's a 4-time Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, record-setting NFL sideline reporter, and now a political and cultural commentator focused on accountability, integrity, and family-first leadership. So there's one win we pulled out last night. That's good. Let's get into Trump-endorsed Darlene Graham, which I understand is going to a runoff in that state. But more than likely, she's going to walk away with it because, people of South Carolina loved them some Lindsey Graham. Darlene Graham, sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, advanced in the South Carolina Republican special election primary on Tuesday. Darlene Graham will go off in a face-off with Ralph Norman in the August 25th runoff. President Trump endorsed Darlene Graham last month. Says we've known each other for a long time. Obviously, was friends with Lindsey. I am not a fan of Lindsey Graham, or was not. But his sister seems to be a little bit more not flailing in the wind, right? Darlene, who comes from an absolutely incredible family, this is President Trump, I believe, has been a winner all her life, and she should accept, should she accept my complete and total endorsement in the special election for U.S. Senate in South Carolina, she will never let you down. Run, Darlene, run. And she's going to go off to a runoff with Ralph Norman. So I guess we'll see how that ends up. My prediction is she'll win. I just don't see how she loses in that state. Wild Rose said she's more MAGA than Lindsey. Yes, she is, absolutely. So we'll see where that goes. But Eli, there's no fraud in elections, they say. Well, then tell me what happened here.
Please explain
I'll try.
what happened here.
So I just talked to George Christensen. He oversees the Milwaukee County part of this, and this is where they were waiting for these thumb drives. I'm told there's 9 of them that come from Central Count. They take those thumb drives over to the county. The county then does their things to get the results from Central Count.
Okay.
5 of the 9 thumb drives did not include the results. They had the audit log, but they did not have the results. So they don't have all the results coming from Central Count. So they're going back to Central Count to get those thumb drives updated correctly, to go back to the county to then provide the results. Time-wise?
Hour.
That's what George said.
Clearly a fixable situation. It's clearly everything can be tracked, there's a record of everything. This is the last thing the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County need on an election night where Steve Kornacki right here is bent over, at the knees going, we're what? We're waiting for what? Milwaukee County did what? I mean, the national audience is seeing Milwaukee City and County.
It's Milwaukee.
Yeah.
This is Milwaukee numbers. These are the Central Count
So
numbers.
the city put the wrong stuff on the drives.
I don't know if they put the wrong stuff. They just didn't include the results.
They didn't put the right stuff on the drives.
Right, the right stuff. And so it was in 5 out of those 9, what we call the sticks, the thumb drives, right? And so that's where those results, those 27,000 votes, that's the number I keep hearing. And that's a big number. That's a big number.
Please explain
I'll try.
what happened here.
Yeah. 28,000 ballots. A human error causes a delay in about 28,000 ballots. So, for the people with low IQ that might be watching, let me explain this to you. How is this voter fraud? Well, here's how it is. Because if you can say in one breath that the Russians influenced our elections in real time with misinformation and disinformation campaigns, if you're out there and you say that still today, even though it's been debunked and even the top left has said it's been debunked, except for Adam Schiff, he's still riding that horse. But if you can say that, then you also have to acknowledge that real-time stuff like this also influences elections. Especially if the election is still going on and you see some of this trickery and this effery going on while people are still in line voting. Meaning like, oh, sorry, everybody. Voting machines have all been broke. They all just stopped working, apparently. Everybody has to leave the line, and then you can come back. That is voter suppression and voter fraud. Or how about this one? We can now call this race for Francesca Hong, and we can say this with pretty much certainty that she's going to win based on exit polling, based on predictive modeling, and based on polling. We're going to predict she didn't win. So what happens is if somebody's out there and they're doing this during voting and voting still hasn't stopped, people go, oh well, looks like they've already put it out for her to win. I'm not going to go vote anyway. That's voter fraud. Fraud is rampant. Or how about this? When you're watching TV during the 2020 election and the 2022 midterms and you see vote totals changed from one person to the other. You see one person up and then you see their number drop and you see the other person's number go up by the number that person dropped. Oh, that was just an error. That was a glitch. Those are all forms of voter fraud. And it should be as easy as counting. One person votes for this person. One person votes for this person. One person votes for this person. Until the person with the most votes goes on to win. Because generally, if you get the most votes in these places with these electors, those electors are forced to give you the vote anyway. 5 thumb drives or sticks. Whatever happened to the chain of command? Whatever happened to the chain of custody? Whatever happened to keeping eyes on everything all the time? How did you not put the information that you needed in order to call an election properly on 5 thumb drives, and then it took an hour of delay because they had to go back and get them? Oh, you mean so that there was mistakes in the chain of custody already, but you expect us not to believe that there's going to be any mistakes now that you're going to retrieve these mistakes? So stupid.
So basically what we need to do is go back to the operations center and we're going to download out of those 5 machines the results and make sure that's not the audit log. So we have the reports printed from the first download. We're going to reprint and start the process so that we can compare those results. We invite you to come join us. Milwaukee Police Department will come with us too. And so we'll re-download those results and then send them back here to be uploaded.
5 machines are at issue?
Correct. Not the machines, the sticks. So the download process was the audit log was downloaded, not the results.
Out of how many sticks?
9.
And so you will only be reviewing those 5 sticks?
Correct.
But we can't know all of the results, and we can't see these 4 sticks worth of results that were done correctly.
Can you?
How come whenever they find mail-in ballots that they had lost, they're always predominantly Democrat? How come when mail-in ballots get dumped really late at night after an election should already be called, how come they're always skewed and heavy towards Democrat? How come when there's mistakes like this where a machine shuts down or a thumb drive doesn't or a stick doesn't get passed on with the proper chain of custody, how come it's always Democrat-run Secretary of State's offices or Democrat-run governors? How come it's always skewed towards them to benefit them? It's never on the other side. The last problem Republicans had when it came to this was the hanging chads in Florida at the turn of the millennium and the century. How come it's always one way? Isn't that weird? I think that's weird. Now, I don't know if you saw the thumbnail for today, but producer Eli killed it. Might have been his best thumbnail he's ever made, called Hung Out to Dry. That's right. Hung out to dry. She's gone. See you later, alligator.
Francesca Hong in the Wisconsin gubernatorial primary.
Yeah, a lot of attention on that race. However, progressive Democrats did find some success in Minnesota with Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan winning her primary for Minnesota Senate.
To react to these results, Republican strategist and Cornerstone strategist principal Cassie Smedley joins us now. Cassie, thanks for talking to us about this. But First and foremost, I know this was a close race, but Hong was supposed to wipe the floor with this. It wasn't even really supposed to be a race. So my question to that is this DSA messaging and trying to get these socialists elected, is it as effective as what they're trying to make everyone say?
Well, good morning to you both. I think it's a couple of things. One, I was in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, over the weekend. That's where my in-laws live. And the general sentiment around there, which is very working class, blue collar, and largely Democratic, frankly, was we don't really understand where she came from. That's not really the person that we're going to vote for. That's not someone we're interested in. We hope that's not the person we have to vote for. So the sentiment on the ground versus the sentiment that was being captured on social media and even in the polling was seemingly out of step, because Wisconsin, from a Democrat perspective, is a traditionally blue collar working class state. And this DSA message you're talking about, Francesca Hong's message, and Francesca Hong, frankly, as a candidate, just wasn't jiving with that.
Yeah, I know. The polls had her walking away with that, running away with that. The polls also had Abdul Amana Muhammad Al Saeed Al Akbar also winning by a staggering amount. What did he win by? 1%? The socialist message is dying already. They would love to call it the communist message, but they can't. Now, I will say that race went up and down and back and forth and up and down. And in the end, she was hung out to dry. But even mainstream media and MS Now could not believe where this major, rare, huge dump came in for Hong right there at the end. And they're like, where'd this come from? It didn't come from here. It didn't come from here. It didn't come from over there. Can anybody tell us where this dump came from? And these are the people that are lock in step with these idiots. And they were still confused. Where did this big dump come in for Hong as she was being hung out to dry? Watch this.
Wow. Now, do we know, are we in the city? Are we in the county? Can we tell here?
Taking a look.
Okay. What I just said a minute ago, this is super, super interesting. Because demographically, this is the kind of place that Hong should be doing well. And this is going to be the number 2 vote producer in the state tonight. And it is, though, Crowley's political base, but it's, that's almost half the vote in Milwaukee County that just came in. Adam's trying to figure out here. Oh, while Adam's looking at that, we got Brown County. Okay, we said now this is Brown County, Green Bay, the Bow counties. We said this is.
Yeah, there's another video of him going, where did this all come from? But again, he was so confused. He's like, wait, what's going on here? This is his district. And we already thought that this dump came in, but this is his district where he's supposed to be doing well in, and she's getting all these. Well, that's odd, because I thought we already got that. But it was nice to see a socialist lose. Oh, here it is. Here's the video. I got it right here. Thought so. Thought I had it in queue. Got to hurry up here because we got our guest coming in 5 minutes. So here we go.
Wow. What the heck just came in Brown? Which was that that was huge for her.
Yeah, so that was about
watch how dumbfounded
18,000 votes. And she nets 2,000.
Question. Was that that wasn't central count, was it?
It's possible. There's no remaining vote in Brown according to our counter. I'll check the website.
I said I want percent more, but now I do, because if that was central count, what was his percentage of that vote?
Let's take a look.
If this was central count, this is the question we're getting at from Milwaukee. If he just got buried in central count Green Bay,
it was 44-34. Hong over Crowley.
Okay, yeah, can we ask our decision desk what we think that was that just, and do we think there's central count left for?
They don't even know where the votes are coming from. They're like, I don't know where those votes are coming from. If you're just joining in, yes, Francesca Hong is now hung out to dry. She officially lost her primary.
That you don't think the media has picked up on over the course of this campaign thus far? Is there any information about yourself, your background, that you think voters are potentially missing out on?
cooked many great Thanksgiving dinners.
Oh, I bet you have.
And I'm not going to cancel Thanksgiving.
Now, somebody said Jeremy Crowley is just as crazy as she is, except Crowley's not calling openly for socialism. Now, we got this 17 hours ago. Republicans are now favored to flip Wisconsin Governor Manchin from blue to red for the first time this year. The GOP leads 50.1 to 49.9. Boy, I'll tell you what, this socialist message is tearing the Democrat Party apart. You know, like I said, we had our own internal Republican civil war after the stolen election of 2020. We all band together and said, okay, time to remove these rhinos. Now, we got about 5 left, 5 real hardcore rhinos left. The Democrats are just starting this, folks. They're just starting their civil war. And unfortunately for them, their civil war is with socialists who would love to call themselves communists, except there's an actual law on the books against that from the 1950s. Now, Mike Lindell. We got a guest coming on in 2 minutes, Congressman Randy Fine from Florida. But in the meantime, Mike Lindell. Why did Mike Lindell lose his primary to Lisa DeMuth? Well, one word, folks. Amnesty. You can't be throwing those words around, even partially, as a Republican in an election year, especially when you are leading the Republican field by so much, and then you go, oh, I want to do amnesty for blah, 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 and then all of a sudden you drop like a rock. What did you think was going to happen? We tried to tell you.
Fought the fraud and stood up to the radical far left. I'm Lisa Damon. Under one-party Democrat control, Minnesota became a magnet for fraud. Fake Somali daycares stealing our money and handouts for illegal immigrants. When Tim Walz cowered, I ended taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants and said no to tax hikes because we shouldn't pay for their fraud. Amy Klobuchar won't end the fraud. I will.
That's right. Amy Klobuchar will not end that fraud. Now, did you want Mike Lindell to win? Possibly. But Mike Lindell, maybe he got screwed in the end. Maybe there was something funny going on there. I mean, it is Minnesota, but I want you to look at these right here. This right here. Look at these odds. Now, this is Polymarket. I want you to look where Mike Lindell was prior to saying amnesty. Look where he was. He's the red line. He is the red line. She's the blue. Look what happened at the moment that he said amnesty. You think that people aren't going to catch that? You think that people aren't going to throw a fit over that? This is our country. This is our livelihood we're talking about. And you're talking about amnesty? Did I want him to win? Yes. I think he's a stand-up guy. I think he's a good guy. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe he didn't. But the fact of the matter is, he said amnesty. And you can't say that as a Republican, especially not in an election year where you're trying to win. And I know that the gentleman that I'm going to bring on next here from the great state of Florida, he knows how to win elections. He knows what's at stake. He knows what socialism is going to do to this country, especially when it's masked in the dirty burqa of Islam, because that's where it predominantly sits. Congressman Randy Fine joins LFA TV for the second time. How you doing? Oh, you're muted. Muted on your end there, but that's all right. We'll get him back on here in just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as we get the audio figured out, he'll speak up and we'll know that he's good to go. But anyway, there we go. We got you.
You can hear me now?
Now I can hear you. How you doing today?
Sorry about that. This is what happens when I do this myself.
You guys are supposed to have people for that stuff. You're congressman now.
Yeah, well, it's a busy time. We've got a primary next Tuesday, and so I'm all over the place. So Have computer, have backdrop, will travel. So
well, first of all, thank you for coming on. I admire the fight that you're in, because you're not only in the fight that we're just talking about, but you're in a whole nother fight of the, Jew bad, Israel bad, Jews killing everybody, they're the worst of people in the world, Muslims are right, Jews are wrong. So you're fighting that too, and you're fighting a crazy person who apparently is taking, in my opinion, steroids in the top half of his body and skipped every leg day on the bottom half of his body. But tell us a little bit about that campaign in Florida right now.
Well, it's going well. Look, it is a challenge. We're seeing something that we've never seen before in American politics, which is direct foreign spending in a race. This weirdo that I'm running against, Dan Bilzerian, is accepting unlimited money from foreign sources that cannot be tracked. He's operating, he claims to be operating a political committee called the Florida First Action Network, but they are not registered with the Federal Election Commission, and they've now spent about $1 million trying to influence my race. This is going to be a real problem that we see across the country. I think this cycle of foreign money literally coming in, not people who care about foreign issues, but actual unknown foreign money. We talk about dark money in politics. This is ghost money in politics. And particularly from someone who is just disgusting and calls for the death of all Jews, who inspired someone to draw a swastika on one of my yard signs. I mean, we're just talking about real evil, and we've got to stamp it out in our own party.
Well, you're talking about that dark money. The funny thing about that is, and look, I look into this stuff all the time. I talk about the dark money, and I talk about the money in politics as a whole. But this money coming in for candidates like Bilzerian, all right, it's not coming in because they support him. It's coming in because they don't support your faith and your outlook on life. They don't support the Jewish part of you, so they'll support him, regardless of what he says. And you see that same thing playing out everywhere. That's where that money's coming in, and that's why we're seeing communism and socialism rise.
The funny thing is, we don't know where the money's coming from and what its purpose. This isn't dark money. To be clear, the organization spending the money is not registered anywhere. So we have no idea where the money's coming from. But frankly, it could be Democrat and socialist money to try to help get someone elected in a primary who the Republican Party would have to walk away from if he won the nomination.
Oh, yeah.
And then let the Democrats take the seat. We don't know where the money's coming from, but what we do know is it's someone willing to go to federal prison for a very long time because they're willing to give $1 million to a criminal enterprise. It's really amazing stuff.
So is this money going to a PAC and not to him directly?
No, it's going to nowhere. So a group that named itself the Florida First Action Network is buying advertisements. So that sounds like a PAC, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to the Federal Elections Commission and you type in that name, there is no such group filed by that name. There's no group filed by that name with the IRS, with the Federal Elections Commission, with any government entity. So it's not dark money, it's ghost money. It is a fake organization. But what we do know is Dan Bilzerian's attorney, a guy by the name of Anthony Sabatini, who he's paid $10,000 to, is running this ghost committee because he was forced to put his name on a document in order to buy the TV ads. So we know that Bilzerian is behind it, this criminal activity, but we don't know where the money's coming from. We have no idea.
So isn't that automatically by default, just by basically what you just told me, a violation of the FEC? I mean, isn't that a violation of Federal Elections Commission?
This is felony federal stuff, yeah.
And so this wouldn't be James Youthmeyer's alley. This would be up DOJ's alley, right? Could James Youthmeyer also get involved?
I don't know if there's any federal criminal, state level criminal activity, but it's clearly federal criminal activity. Sabatini's going to go to prison for this on many, many levels. One of which is in federal campaigns, you're not allowed to coordinate your campaign with any outside group because campaigns can only take $3,500 maximum and it has to come from an individual. Outside groups can take an unlimited amount and they can take it from corporations and not just individuals.
Yeah.
So because of that, there can be no coordination between the two. And for Bilzerian's attorney, who he's paid $10,000 to be running this fake committee, that's a federal crime. So Sabatini will likely go to prison for a very long time, let alone for the crime of literally running a ghost committee that does not exist. How they're even paying for what they're doing, I don't know. But I suspect when the FBI peels back the onion, he'll turn out he's just laundering the money through his law firm or something.
Well,
yeah, it's absolutely criminal stuff.
Well, let me say two things on that. Number one, I believe Bill Zarian has. I mean, he's a millionaire, right? I mean, he has millions of dollars from all the scams and things that he's done over his years. I believe it. He was at one time a millionaire. I don't know if he still is. But I don't know if he's funding his own campaign or not. But what you just said to me sounds like a blatant violation of the Federal Election Commission. And then going on to Anthony Sabatini, he's one of those guys, Randy, that long ago, he was on the team. He's like the Tucker Carlson. Long ago, these people were people like in 2016 that were fighting alongside me and many other people to get President Trump elected. And then over the years, they've fallen off. And then you see them online out of nowhere. You forget about them. You see them online and they're on there talking about how President Trump needs to be impeached and AIPAC this and Jews are killing that. And I'm like, what happened to some of these people? Look at Tucker. Tucker has Hunter on and the two are playing touch butt in the park with each other. I don't understand what happened to some of these people that used to be considered heavy hitters. Is it money? Is it demonic? I don't know. It's weird though.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I think there's money involved for sure. And in the case of what I'm dealing with right now, it's probably foreign money. And I'm sure Sabatini's getting paid to facilitate this federal felony. But in the case of both of them, I think there's also serious mental problems. You know, I mean, it's well known Sabatini has a substance abuse problem. And you know, I suspect Tucker has taken too many of those nicotine pouches. I'm sure, you know, anything in moderation is fine. But you know, when Tucker said he was attacked by a demon, we probably should believe him. I mean, it's you know, I think these people are. I think they're just mentally unwell. I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, you could see that. I mean, and you know, the ones that are mentally unwell, as opposed to the ones that probably are getting a payday, the ones that are mentally unwell physically change the way they look. Like the Kathy Griffins of the world or the Owen Schroyers of the world, they physically change, and you're like, whoa. So that brings me back to this question then. Here, when is your primary, and what? I mean, it's probably a stereotypical answer that you're going to give because there's not any other answer you could give. But what do you need from here to that point to push you over the edge? Is it door knockers? Is it volunteers? Is it more signs? Is it more TV ads? What is it that you need to get over that and push that aside?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think what most important thing is we need people to go out and vote. They can vote early between now and Saturday in any of the 6 counties I represent, or they can go and they can vote next Tuesday, I think. Or if they have a mail-in ballot, make sure that's returned. I mean, that's the number one thing. The number two thing is we are continuing to raise resources for the campaign so that we can continue. You know, when you've got infinity foreign money, it's not dark money. I've got to be clear, ghost money flooding into a campaign. You know, that's where we are. But we've got people door knocking and doing those kind of things. If people want to help, we'll take the help. But having the resources to try to respond to this, you know, foreign funded material that's out there, and then making sure people vote.
Well, yeah, because I'll tell you what, I don't know if you know this or not. I was talking to your staff there. I have formally announced to the audience, not to officially on paper yet, but I formally announced that I'll be running for District 1 in Iowa against somebody who's an incumbent already, who I'm actually campaigning for right now. But one thing that I know is I could not believe the amount of money that was needed to be raised in this state for a position like that. And when I got deeper into the Republican Party here, and I said, why on God's green earth does $4+ million need to be raised in a district for a congressional seat? You know, $4 million, that's quite a lot of money. And they said, because if you don't, then every ad that you have on your free TV, your Freevee, your Tubi, your Samsung TV is going to be an ad about how bad you are. And there's going to be nothing to combat it. And overall, repeat messaging just wears people down and you'll be screwed. And I'm like, well, that sucks because, you know, you shouldn't have to raise $4 million plus to win, you know, based on your ideas and your agenda.
Yeah, look, campaigns are expensive, and that is absolutely true. Particularly if you're in a competitive race, people regularly spend $4 or $5 million. Give you a sense. I send a mail piece to Republican primary voters that costs about $50,000. I mean, it's you know, I mean, look, think about it this way: 70,000 people, 70 cents a mail piece. Postage is expensive. That gets you to 50 grand. So, I mean, you can spend a lot of money in these races very, very quickly. And so that's why you've got to raise a lot. And, and it's one thing when you're following the rules and you're raising that money from Americans at that $3,500 or less amount. It's another thing when you're competing, as I am, with foreign money that's completely unknown.
For the people out there who don't say, we got a lot of Floridians who watch. For whatever reason, let's say hypothetically, they don't know much about you.
Right.
I've described you as a candidate who aligns with President Trump, who votes for his agenda, votes for his bills. That's what I've seen. Can you just explain a little bit about your voting record, who you are, what your constituents say, what you've been able to do for them, just in a kind of a 5,000-foot overview, real quick?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a new congressman. I only got elected last April. I was a lifetime entrepreneur. That's what I did with my career. From the time I went to college till the time I retired at 40. That was what I did. I built businesses, and then I retired so I could spend more time with my kids. But my wife decided she didn't sign up for a stay-at-home husband who was 40 years old. So I ended up running for the state legislature. I served in the Florida House for 8 years. Was the architect behind much of the education policy that we did, as well as much of the woke policy that we took on. I ran the bill to end drag queen story time in Florida. I ran the bill that ended taking kids to drag shows. I ran the bill that made it illegal to cut a 14-year-old's body parts off. Those were my bills. And I also helped fix education. I ran for the state Senate. I won that. And then as soon as I won the state Senate, when President Trump won, 2 years ago, President Trump called and asked me to run for Congress. So before I was sworn in to the state Senate, I actually announced I was running for Congress. So I am the shortest serving state senator in the history of Florida. And I got elected last May the 1st. And, I'm known as a guy who's willing to say what needs to be said, fight the fights that need to happen. You talked about mainstream Islam. I heard a little bit while ago when I came on. I'm one of the people more than anyone who's willing to call it out for the threat that it is in this country. And I'm a guy who's out willing to fight. And frankly, the biggest problem we have is we have too many who aren't. The left is willing to fight. They're willing to die to advance their causes. And our guys, too many of them are like, well, I just want to be polite. I don't want to rock the boat. How do we all get along? I'm like, that time is long past. I didn't come to Washington to work with Democrats. I came to Washington to beat them. And that's what I'm trying to do every
I might
day.
have to steal that or borrow it from you or lease it from you or something. I'm not coming to Washington to make friends or support Democrats. I come to beat them. That's great. And you're right. You've been outspoken about the Muslim dog stuff. That's when we first had you on, when they see you can't have your pets. You got to outlaw pets if you're around Muslims because they don't like dogs. You spoke out against that, which was great. You've spoke out against the trans stuff, which is great. You actually put bills that became law about trans kids. About drag queens twerking on kids and doing storybook hour, which is great. And the president calls
that's
you.
Gross. That's gross, but banning it is great.
Yeah, banning it is great. That's what I'm saying. You stood up against it, which is great. You get a call from the president. Excuse me, Randy, I need you to run. I need you to run down there. What are you going to say? No? You know what I mean?
Do you want the full story?
I do.
It was, well, sir, I just won an election. I'm a little bit tired. But I'll think about it. And then he tweeted out I was running. So.
Of course he did. Of course he did. I just spoke with him. Fine, gentlemen. Fine, pun intended. And he's running. So you kind of got stuck in that one, huh?
But I am a great advocate for the president. I'm actually the only person in the United States that President Trump has endorsed in 3 elections in 3 years. He endorsed me in 2024 when I ran for the state Senate and I won. He endorsed me in 2025 when I ran in my special election for this seat and I won. And obviously he's endorsed me in 2026 for my primary that I'm in my general.
That's great.
That I'm doing right now. So
That's
only
great.
person in America 3 times in 3 years.
That's so great. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I just got to ask you about the SAVE Act, okay? Obviously, you voted to advance the SAVE Act. Save America Act now it's called. There's been many renditions of it. There's been many forms of it, back and forth, back and forth. I don't think we need to beat the dead horse about how much of an ineffective, non-leader, almost, in my opinion, loser John Thune is, but what do you think the likelihood of getting this passed by breaking it up and putting it in reconciliations and must-pass bills? Do you think that they have any desire to even do that, or do you think this is DOA and we're going to have to do it from an executive order, position at some point?
Well, I think there's 2 paths. I don't think there's any path that involves 60 votes in the Senate.
No.
So I think that's clear. But I do think there's 2 paths. Path number 1 is we put it in the reconciliation bill. And that reconciliation bill can pass with 50 votes plus J.D. Vance. That is a vehicle where only Republicans can pass it. The other thing I learned is we passed a bill in the House to do something even more popular than the Save America Act. Ban insider trading by members of Congress. Mm-hmm. That's even more popular. That's something 100% of people, everyone in America except Nancy Pelosi supports that. And so we attach that to that bill. And when we did that in the House, we got 12 Democrats to vote for it because they knew that voting against stopping insider trading in members of Congress was a suicidal vote. So we peeled off some Democrats.
Wow.
And so maybe if the Senate tries that path, pair at least part of Save America, aka voter ID, with no insider trading for members of Congress, maybe we can get it done that way. So there are vehicles, but what people have to be willing to do is they have to be willing to work. They have to be willing to do the hard work, to do the fights. And it seems as though some in the Senate aren't willing to do the hard work. And my message to them would be this. There's a lot of people that want to be members of Congress. There's a lot of people who want to be senators. And if you don't want to sit there and do the difficult work to get the work of the American people done, step aside and let somebody else do it. Because there's plenty of people who are willing to sign up. And
absolutely.
So I hope they get it done because it is very, very frustrating to our voters that it is not passed. I've voted for it 6 times. I'll vote for it 600 times. If that's what we have to do to get it done. But it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, I got to say, I was very critical of Mike Johnson when he first became Speaker because I still had, I thought he was a leftover, Kevin McCarthy in a lot of ways. I don't really have a lot of complaints against Mike Johnson in the last year and a half. I said that on the show last week. A lot of people agree with me. I think he's been doing a great job. I know you're in the House and not the Senate, so I know you might not be privy to all the Senate rules. But this is one question that I keep coming down to. What is wrong with forcing the talking filibuster and then tabling the amendments, rather than saying, well, the Democrats will just throw up amendments and then it starts the process all over again? But can't we table amendments? Can't we just have this done? Force the talking filibuster, let it go a month, table every amendment, and then just run it through? Can that be done?
Yeah, look, my view is this. To pass the Voting Rights Act in the 60s, which guaranteed every American the right to vote, they had to stay there for 60 days, 24 hours a day, dealing with a bunch of garbage, frankly, by Democrats who didn't want to make sure that everyone could vote.
That's right.
If it was worth that to make sure that every American can vote, it's worth 60 days to make sure that only Americans can vote.
Nailed it.
And so that's what they need to do. And by the way, had they done this when we started asking them to do it 6 months ago, it would be done by now.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, they're unwilling to do it. And they just need to put on their big boy pants, get comfortable chairs, bring some coffee and snacks, and just sit there and get it done.
Yeah, do it in shifts. Well, we got a lot of people in the live chat that said they voted for you and they can't wait to vote for you again. So for those people and many others, you're running in the 6th District of Florida, if I'm correct. And, where is the best place for people to go to offer their time, money, or resources to help you get over the line so that this crazy person doesn't pull a win out of nowhere?
The campaign website's voterandyfine.com. And if they want to find out my official stuff, it's fine.house.gov. Those would be the 2 ways to get to me online.
All right, we just pinned that in the live chat so people can help him out. Everybody go do your part to help him out, because guess what? He might be a congressman for the 6th District of Florida, but he's also a congressman voting on bills that affect you in your state. So that is why it's so important to make sure that we know who these people are, who they're running against, and what's at stake. And when the president calls you and says, I want you to run, and he endorses you 3 times, I think this is the guy. Randy, as always, sir, thank you very much. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep standing up against Islam, and we'll keep having you on whenever we can get you on. And God bless you, sir.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. See you later. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Randy Fine, Congressman Randy Fine. Make sure that you guys go to his website there. I pinned it in the live chat for you. If it's somebody that you want to help move along and advance, then it's somebody that you help move along and advance. B-Hop says, Randy Fine for Congress. VoteRandyFine.com is the website. I think I put it up in there. What I like about him is that he is one of the only, there's a few, but one of very few members of Congress currently elected that will tell you that Islam is bad. That's what we need. That's what we need. Now, I see the joy of the Lord in there saying he's a major Zionist. He's a major, I think that Israel has a right to live and be a country, because that's what Zionist means. Yes, he is. Just like I'm a major Christian. And so are you, right? What's worse, that he's a major Zionist that thinks that his people should have a right to live, or Islam? Which one's worse? Debbie said, Jeremy, you do excellent interviews. Denise, great interview. Thank you very much. I'm not some kind of expert interviewer. I just have conversations with people. Same thing if we were having a debate. It would be just like that. But which is worse? Him thinking that his religion and his people that follow his religion have a right to exist, which is what Zionism means, or Islam? You tell me. Put yourself on the record. Let it be known. Jeremy, show live Todd Blanche on Fox. What's Todd Blanche talking about on Fox? We'll pull it up. We'll have it in the queue for you. But it depends on what he's talking about. If Todd Blanche is just talking about his nomination and how he got how he got confirmed, probably not worth news. But Eli, make sure you look that up. Bring that over to me if it's something of worth showing. Thank you, Lulu Red. No, that is not Zionist. What Zionist means. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's absolutely what it is. Now, I know that you have a bias there, but that's exactly what it means. I could care less, to be honest with you. I could care less about it all. That's why I vowed not to get involved in that. I'm not going to take AIPAC money, not because I don't believe the AIPAC is right or wrong, because I'm not going to get involved in people's ridiculous stuff. Oh, he took some money from AIPAC to help him get elected, so that must mean that he's a Jew, he's a baby killer. I'm just going to stay far away from it. But yes, that is exactly what it means. Period. Loyalty to your people and your country and a right to exist. Oh, sound familiar? Only all of us. Now, hey, if you look at who his opponent is, trust me, you want him in place. Now, I'm going to go back to Mike Lindell here, but only after we talk about our next sponsor, which is, that's right, folks, ready? I know he's just pushing supplements. Your supplements are good things. And guess what? Everyone who's over the age of 40 is taking supplements. Trust me on that one. Trust me on that one. Armor Colostrum, folks. One-stop shop to save over $4,000 a year. For those out there who do take supplements, do you take any supplements for your gut health or bloating? Do you take any supplements for your metabolism and being able to process and move food? Do you take any supplements for your immune health, your skin, your aging, anything like that? Because if you do, your one-stop shop right here, Armor Colostrum, 2 to 4 scoops a day of what they call superfood. Why is it superfood? Because it's the same ingredient, it's the same bionutrients that you get at birth when you get mother's milk. It sets you up to be a strong person to fight off all sickness and disease in the society, including COVID-19. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to armor.com/LFATV. That is armor.com/LFATV. armor.com/LFATV. One more time, armor.com/LFATV. Get your discount. Now, you can get a recurring order, which gives you the discount, or you can get a one-time order, which gives you the discount. Either way, it's up to you. So, armor.com/LFATV. And the other supplement, for a completely different reason, is to repair your damaged cells, work on your cognitive and brain and metabolic health, also your liver health. If you've got any liver issues, Fatty 15 is going to address those as well. Why? Because what C15 is, it's an essential fatty acid that your body needs to thrive and live long. The longer you live, I mean, the more that you take of C15, not taking it in abundance, but I'm saying daily, it'll help you live longer. That's what C15 does. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what a doctor told me when I first talked with these people, and the information that he showed me, and the data that he showed me about Fatty 15 and the people who do and don't take it, and what the difference is. So, fatty15.com, promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com, promo code LFA. Eli, do we have that? Did you send that to me? With the DOJ? Okay, we're going to go over there now. Apparently, the DOJ is talking about fraud that happened in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to pull that up for you now, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for being late on that. We just got off that interview, and I didn't see it come across the desk. So thank you, Eli, and thank you for all you for holding this accountable, making sure we keep it up and show it. This is, after all, breaking live and current news. So let's get to it.
Dead, but if anybody has any ideas, we also have said under oath that if Congress would like to make it a law, that we would support that, as would the White House. So I'm not sure. I get that this is a super fun story to not let die, but I don't know what else to say except that yes, the president feels very strongly, as do I, that there were people who were victims of a Department of Justice that was absolutely weaponized, and he feels very strongly that he would want to make them whole, as do I. But it will not be through the Anti-Weaponization Fund, which, again, was never set up, and nothing has happened with it. But thanks, Alex. Sarah?
I'm short. I have an on-topic and an off-topic. On-topic, I know that SDNY in particular actually has done a lot of investigations over the last several years into, people who were harassed by China, who are political dissidents, who are trying to escape oppression. So I'm curious if any of the people in these 1,000 marriages were maybe in that position where they were trying to get cover, to protect themselves from being harassed by China. That's my on-topic question.
So I think, and Jamie can speak more to this if he chooses, but it's hard to label a particular marriage and a particular reason or why it happened.
Volume's a little low,
right.
folks. Just
Southern
so you know.
and Eastern District of New York have had a lot of cases in that space over the past couple of years. When I will add, though, that if there is a Chinese national who feels like they're being harassed, they have other ways to remedy that besides entering into a sham marriage, right? You can't, just because you're being harassed doesn't give you the right to go commit a crime. So, but yeah, I don't think it's fair to try to say some percentage or some number may have separately claimed that they were harassed, so.
My off-topic, I was just curious if there were any updates. We've been having primaries across the country, and as usual, the Civil Rights Division has been sending monitors in some of these places to sort of keep tabs on things. In the past, the head of the Civil Rights Division has said some of these counties have had irregularities, she said in the past. What's been the feedback so far? Have you spoken with people in the Civil Rights Division to see what they're observing in these primaries, and if you have any concerns that they have raised as they've been observing polling places?
So I don't have an update necessarily today to say here's what we're doing, but yes, that is something that the Department of Justice, as every Department of Justice does, is making sure that we're appropriately monitoring between now and, you're right, there's primaries, but up through the election, and we'll continue to do that. I think there's not anything secretive about this process. There's not supposed to be. I don't think there should be. So to the extent that the Civil Rights Division is doing something, we're not going to do it in secret. You'll know about it because it's important the American people know about it, because we're doing it to make sure that we have elections that are fair and run the right way. So all right, I'll take one more question. Got it. Go ahead.
Next week, there's a deadline in the Comey case. The defense has said that there was evidence that was gathered by the government that suggested there were alternative reasons, sort of the restaurant narrative of '86. How confident are you today that that case will survive to trial and ultimately result in a conviction?
James Comey?
So I'm not going to comment on a defense filing in any case, because that's not fair to any of the parties involved, and so I don't have a comment on the way that every case works in this country is that when every indicted case it means a grand jury has returned an indictment. That means that a grand jury found probable cause that a crime has been committed, and there's a trial. And there's a lot of cases as a prosecutor that I felt were definitely going to get convictions, and that didn't, or that it was a tough conviction. There's cases that were really, really tough that got convictions, and so I'm certainly not going to act like I have a crystal ball and predict what's going to happen with that case at trial. But it's enough to say that this was a case that was returned by a grand jury. It's not out of D.C. It's out of a district in North Carolina, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good day.
So the press conference today was not about Michigan fraud. It was about holding Chinese nationals accountable. And it was about announcing an indictment of multiple Chinese nationals based on their election interference of 2020 and beyond. Wow. The Department of Justice indicting people. I guess that's fake news too. I guess it's fake news did you think that President Trump was going to have that address to the nation about the Chinese nationals and then just leave it and walk away? Do you think that was going to happen? How stupid must you feel now seeing that Donald Trump, when he came out and gave that address to the nation about the Chinese CCP interfering in our elections, how stupid must you feel now? Nothing's going to do. These people are lying. There was no fraud. China was not involved. They're trying to misdirect. Well, now the DOJ has just listed and showed the indictments of multiple Chinese nationals for that reason. Gearing up to be a great year, isn't it? Oh, I love it. The more we actually mitigate and litigate 2020, the more I love it. Because the more the idiots come out of the woodwork, I can't stand this anymore. You maggots, you Trump bootlicking pieces of shit. We just come on, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Do we have that Mike Crispy soundbite still? There it is right there.
Let's go, baby. Yes, Frankie. Unbelievable.
Eli, every time I hear that, I'll never forget when he first said it. Yes, let's go, baby. Yes, Frankie. Man, LFA TV could really use some Mike Crispy again, huh?
Yep. We need some friggin' Mike Crispy and Frankie back, damn it. Mike, you hear this? Pay attention. Get back.
Hey, Frankie. Hey, Eli, sorry to cut you up, but Frankie wanted to come back. So I'm going to give you guys some sneak peek behind the scenes stuff here. Ready? Only for the LFA audience. Check this out. We were Wild Rose says, that is why I watch you and Eli. Makes news fun. Eli, we were this close, weren't we? Last week. We were so close. I felt like I was talking like Mike Crispy even. Folks, last week we were this close from getting Mike Crispy back on the network. That close. We had a meeting. Me, Frankie, Crispy. Eli was involved in those talks. Frankie was like, let's do it. Frankie actually called Mike and said, Mike, are we back? Are we back, baby? How perfect would it have been to actually put Mike back in his old time slot where Sean currently is right now at 10 a.m.? I even said you only got to do 4 days a week. That's what I said. I said, you only have to do 4 days a week. Wilson says, no thanks, not a Crispy fan at all. That's okay. I am. And so are a lot of people here. We love him. It would have been nice to have some of that energy back, some of that fire, somebody who knows politics, somebody who's ran for Congress, somebody who's been in the game and continues to remain in the game. And he tried. He really did. But he said, I just don't think I could swing it. He's involved in the what's it called? The IRCRL. I can't remember the exact acronym for it, but it's for the Italian Civil Rights League that he runs. He's now running it in New York and Jersey, so he's very busy with that. His career has got him flying all over the place, so he's just never in the same place at the same time week to week. And he's like, he really did. He tried. He definitely did. Will Johnson's in the chat, said, I'm a Jeremy Harrell fan. Well, I'm a Will Johnson fan. How about that? So we were that close. But in the end, he just couldn't swing it. He did try. I will give him an A for effort. He did try. He tried to move some things around and maybe the future holds something different for him. But you know what you can do? If you still follow Mike Crispy on social media, go there and bully him into it. Right, Eli? Go in there and bully. And it's okay if somebody doesn't like him. That's okay. Look, not everybody on LFA TV is everybody's cup of tea. I'm pretty sure there's people who watch LFA TV that don't like me. And I'm the one who started it. Somebody said, I miss Hannah and Pete. Yeah, I miss them too. I miss a lot of people that were here. You know what I mean? But life happens and people go. But go bully him. Go over there and be like, you're coming back. You're coming back or we will stalk you every day and say you're coming back. All right, let's get back to the news. Mike Lindell. Getting back to Mike Lindell. I wanted Mike Lindell to pull that out. I really did. Even with his backtracking statements from the amnesty stuff. Because he did, I believe, Mike Lindell didn't truly say, I want amnesty. But what he did say is that he'd be willing for partial amnesty. And you know what? Maybe if you would have said that 5 years ago and explained exactly what part of amnesty you want, maybe people would forget about that. Maybe people would forgive that. But here we are, 2026. We've had the Alex Pretties and the Renee Good situations. We've had the Maryland Man situations. We're sick of it. America just wants all illegal aliens gone. And it doesn't matter what the aftermath looks like as far as the economy or anything else. It is time to remove them. And when you even utter the word amnesty, you shoot yourself in the foot. I don't know why Mike did that. I especially don't understand why he did it in an election year, this close to a midterm election. Like I said, if you saw it, let me pull up that slide again. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing here in the red right here, this was Mike Lindell. This was him, and this was DeMuth, way down here. Lover6 says, I love you, Jeremy. I love you too, Lover6. Perfect name. Keith Day says, let's steal Haley from the Dan Bongino Network. Yeah, imagine her going down like that, downhill like that, coming. Not saying that he's better than us, but I mean his audience is so much bigger. Nobody would want to do that. Let's steal Natalie Winters from Rab. No. Look. So anyway, this is where Mike Lindell was. You know what happened here, don't you? All this here is where the amnesty talk came. Look what happens. Look what happens. Look what happens when you mention amnesty in an election year as a Republican. In 2026, you did this to yourself, Mike. Again, I believe Mike Lindell is a stand-up dude. I've met him many times. I've talked to him many times. He's been on the show umpteen times. He sponsors with MyPillow. I think his company's great. I think his workers are great. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great boss based on the interviews that I've had with people who actually work for him. But you can't mention amnesty, or you can't want it and then expect to win an election. I don't know why he did it. At this point, it doesn't really matter. He's done. Now, was there some stuff that happened in Minnesota? Does a bear shit in the woods? Absolutely. But this is where he was, folks. This is what he was sailing towards, a smooth win. M. Rose says, Jeremy, it looks like he's not conceding. No, he's not conceding. He is refusing to concede. He claims there were anomalies in vote totals, and his team will be looking at it. I guarantee you they'll find some voting fraud. But are they going to find enough to make up for this? Because this right here is what people's faith in him was in predictive markets, poly markets, people with real money. The minute he said amnesty, he dropped like a rock. You can't do that, Mike. Oh, I get so worked up over stuff like that. And you know what? My own Congresswoman right here in Iowa said the same thing. The difference is she's already won her primary. And the best Democrat is worse than the worst Republican. It's where we are. I want to go to this video that Mike Lindell put out right after he voted. He had Allison come up and cover it. Allison is one of his reporters that we see in D.C. all the time. Great woman, great integrity, great morals. Here's this video.
Whatsoever, you stick the paper into the machine and it's gone. I have no record of who I voted for. I have no record. They have no record of my ID.
He's right about that.
I've never seen anything like it. This is worse than I thought. And I believe we have in Minnesota where you can just vouch for 8 other people. Come on in. Yeah. We should have tried that today, Come on in,
I actually read that because I was wondering if I could cast a vote today. It seems like I would have easily been able to have gotten away with it if I wanted to. You vouched for me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very surprised, though. I thought it's worse than I thought. I mean, to take that, no ID. Did that shock you? I mean, it was
I'm from California where they do that too. But it is shocking. I mean, it should be a federal law that an ID is required.
Guys, we need to pass the Save America Act. We have to. You have to be a citizen to vote. Anybody could have walked in there and just gave him. And then he asked where I lived. I'm going, okay. What if I didn't have an address? Oh, no problem. No, I don't know about that. But what surprised me is you don't even get a paper copy of what you voted. You just goes into the tabulators and it's gone. So this is a thing that I'm going to do in the general election. What I'm going to do is encourage everybody. I set it up for the last election. I think it was the 2025, and we did it in 2024 in areas where everybody would request their mail-in ballot, but then not use it. Okay, and then come the day of, and if they say you've already voted, there's a problem because you go, no, here's my mail-in ballot, and this is a way we caught a lot of states or a lot of places where they had voted for people that, especially California, we had California, but this is a big problem, and just so everybody knows, tonight we do have all hands on deck. We are watching every part of this election and our elections across the country. We have my teams are both there in the cyber world watching. Now we got Mike Lindell in the cyber world. We've been living in that world for a long time now. But everything goes through a company called Edison Research. Every vote goes through that tonight. And at Lindell TV, you guys are signed up for this, and you guys can watch everything tonight on LindellTV.com. But how does it not go on the internet? Okay, now I want everyone to think about this. How is it not on the internet? When I just put that into the abyss, they're not going to count those ballots. It's counted by computers on the internet. And those numbers are going to get passed over the internet out to Edison Research in New Jersey, where every single vote in this country goes through Edison Research, and then it's going to go out to all the news outlets that signed up for it and paid a lot of money to get those votes as they come in. So when you see tonight anywhere, and we've seen in the past, numbers that go in reverse, it's impossible that numbers go in reverse. Remember, they're a collection, so they're getting votes coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't go 10, 3. It doesn't start over, right? So this is what we'll all be watching tonight. But hopefully here in Minnesota, it's too big to rig. We're polling number 1. I'm polling by quite a bit.
You were.
It was great to get the president's re-endorsement today. And but we're going to head to the watch party now, so we'll see you soon.
You guys there?
Yeah, you were polling number 1. President Trump can't even save you with an endorsement if you're calling for amnesty. Do you guys believe that Mike Lindell won the election but got it stolen from him? Or do you believe that Mike Lindell shot himself in his own foot by calling for amnesty and having it nationwide news for 2 weeks? Because it was. Whether you like to admit it or not, they were running it everywhere, even on Fox. Do you think he lost because of cheating, or do you think he lost mainly because of what he said? Oh, don't get me wrong. I think cheating always happens in if there's a Democrat around, cheating is happening, period. But I don't believe that's why he lost. I believe he lost because of what he did. That's just my own opinion. I'm not going to hate you for your own opinion. He shot himself in the foot, shot himself. His foot is still bleeding. Shot himself in the foot. He did it to himself. Shot himself in the foot. Yes, he did it to himself. This one is on Mike, said Redneck. Now, if it was a lot closer and we had these things going on, I'd be like, you know what? But it wasn't even close. He got beat pretty handily. AV says, not this time. I think he did it to himself because he said amnesty. R-Star, why would he even bring it up? Man, you're preaching to the choir there. You're preaching to the choir there. I don't understand why you would even say it unless he benefits from it with his company. Then that would force him to say it. Absolutely. Mike misspoke and God has other plans for him, says Keith Day. Look, again, this is not me saying that there's no room for Mike Lindell somewhere, because I think there is. I think his heart is genuine. I really do. The joy of the Lord. I'm in Minnesota, and I mostly only see Mike Lindell signs. Well, that's because he was kicking the crap out. Look, this is the primary, not the general. So, yeah, in the primary, you're going to have Republicans supporting him. But something happened. Something happened, and that something was him saying amnesty. Big Mac says amnesty equals the kiss of death. It really sucks. Somebody said both. I agree with that one, too. I agree it's definitely both. Some more election news here. Michigan's far-left Democrat Senate Socialist Abdul al-Sayed. Abdullah Muhammad al-Sayed. I think that's his name, right? I think Sean showed this. But I showed you a video this week where he said he hates Manakwa. Then I showed you a video yesterday where he said, you might not hate Muslims, but Muslims hate you. He was just caught, Eli, deleting 100 plus YouTube videos where he talked about Muslim takeover, about hating of this country, about hating the flag, about hating football. He said football is associated with particularly masculine and oftentimes toxically masculine culture, he said. Way to go, talking about America's most popular game. And so much of it was about you wanted to be able to get back and play for your team, and you really weren't allowed to show pain or vulnerability. That's part of the sport, El-Sayed declared in February 2023 podcast, which he also talked about getting rid of 4th of July, getting rid of fireworks, getting rid of football. He said this, El-Sayed's old clips, he's deleting old clips right now that reflect his current views. Abdul is the former captain of his high school football team and is calling for football to be out to end because it's got toxic masculinity. Wants to get rid of fireworks and 4th of July celebrations. Fireworks suck, he said in a now deleted YouTube video. Fireworks suck. Manakwa sucks. I hate it. Sean said something very profound in his last show. He said, this is the weak spot. This is the weak spot in the Democrat, in any election, is the civil war between Democrats and the socialists. The socialist Muslims are trying to take over, and the Democrats are trying to beat them off with a stick. Beat them off. We got one guy here Former Joe Biden press secretary Michael LaRosa. Let me say this one more time. Former Jill Biden press secretary to Joe Biden. What does he say? Well, he endorses Mike Rogers. Alex Ann says, Jeremy, I can't believe with all the crap in Minnesota, they really cared that much about amnesty. It's a national issue. It was the primary issue that we got President Trump elected for. It's still a national issue. Listen to this. This is Jill Biden's former press secretary.
Transcend party loyalty. And I'm just surprised that there's not more people who won't stand up to this guy or this kind of candidate. I was 78 miles in high school in class 25 years ago on September 11th. And I signed a petition for change.org saying Mamdani should stay out of New York City on 9/11. I think this guy, El Sayed, should fly to New York City and look every family member of somebody who jumped out of a window because the alternative was worse. I think he should look them in the eye and tell them that there's no justification for what happened, for showing up at their office or boarding an airplane that day. They didn't do anything wrong. I think he should do that. I think he should take this seriously. And I'd like him to wipe the grin off his face when he's talking about it, too.
El Sayed.
It's nice to see some Democrats standing up against him. He came out and gave a full endorsement to Mike Rogers on X. He said, I refuse to defend or support anyone with an SS totem camp tattoo simply because they had a D next to their name. Oh, that's when he was talking about the guy up in Maine. I won't defend or support anyone who's too cowardly to stand up to extremists who think that the mother of my best friend who jumped from a 95-story who jumped 95 stories. This is an incredible testimony here. Hold on. I won't defend or support anyone who is too cowardly to stand up to extremists who think the mother of my best friend who jumped from 95 stories because the alternative was worse deserved what happened to her. Her only crime was showing up to work that morning. The Democrat running for U.S. Senate in Michigan won't or can't stand up to the guy who says she deserved what she got that morning when she showed up for work. The fact that this guy gets any votes after saying that lets you know how far we've fallen in this country. There's so many of those dipshits like on YouTube that live in our country. We need a purge. That's what we need. We need an actual purge, Eli. Take that however you want, by the way. Take that however you want, you coward, spineless, moron, Muslim-loving pussies.
Somebody over in, I won't name names anymore, but
yeah,
somebody
don't
over on YouTube right now, I don't think Sharia law would ever fly in the U.S. Now, this person is, I think normally is very liberal-minded, says a lot of liberal things. It is flying. They're fueling up the plane. They're loading it up. Tray tables and seats are in their upright and locked positions, and they're trying to push it. And a lot of people are actually cheering for it, blindly, albeit. But it's coming one way or another if we don't stop it now. And somebody else made a good point in there. I don't think it would, but still don't vote for Muslims. That's the key. I'm so sick and tired of the coward-ass Americans only voting for them because they want to fit in. This is the trendy thing to do right now, and anybody who doesn't want to do it is a bigot and a misogynist. And that's not what any of this is about. It's about preserving our way of life here in this country. Mm-hmm. I can't believe the way things are going in America right now. And that's, once more, I'll stop saying it, why I say to Trump, stop screwing around with Israel and Iran and start focusing on the problem right here at home.
I don't totally disagree, but those problems that you're talking about right here at home, Eli, said, we're about ready to nuke everybody in existence, including you. So, deal with them both. Purge Islam off the earth. because it's nothing but a disease.
My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years. And when I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota. So I want to just encourage the community to know that we're with you. We've got your back. I am here shopping today, and just encourage other folks to show up, support our Somali businesses, support our immigrant neighbors. And I know that things are scary right now. And just know that there are more people who are looking out for you. There are more people who are here to support you than you know. I will continue to stand with the Somali community to be with you and to do.
Excuse me, your hair and your face is showing. Stone her. Rape her. String her up. Burn her body. Mutilate her body. Rape her dead body. That's what they do. Your hair and your skin is showing, lady. Can't do that. Go to Iran and do that. Go to Iran and talk that. And Eli, after what you just said, this right here is exactly why Eli just said what he said. And a big shout out to Stella for this reporting. She absolutely nailed it. And this is to sound the alarm. Roll it.
Did you see this? They wrote down the plan. They're mobilizing. The Muslim voting bloc is organizing. They just told us exactly how. So listen, CARE just released its full 2026 strategic election plan. It includes 4 pillars, 35 plus chapters across the country, a target of 2 million new voter registrations, a congressional scorecard grading all 535 members of Congress. They've already picked the battlegrounds, 12 states that decide the House and Senate. Top of the list, no surprise, Michigan. Yeah, the same state the Dems just nominated Abdul al-Sayed for Senate. This is a coordinated, well-funded get out the vote machine. It's strong, you guys. Mosque-based voter drives, Friday prayer caravans straight to the polls, campus tabling, rideshare partnerships on election day. This is an infrastructure. They're not improvising. This is what a serious get out the vote operation looks like. Wait, did you see this?
I'm going to reach out to Stella and see if she can come on the show and talk a little bit more about that, because that's huge. That's big news. They want to get 2 million people. Now, to end the show today, I do have some good news. Senator Rand Paul went to Fort Knox yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't have a lot of time left. But he went to Fort Knox yesterday to find out if the gold was there. Obviously, you can't go in with cameras. I'm not even a big fan of Rand Paul, but one thing Rand Paul is not is a liar. Here was the video yesterday.
Our country has about 147 million ounces of gold, and about half of it is stored here at Fort Knox. We're going to be going deep underground to see the gold, but more importantly, we're going to be talking today about what happened to our dollar when we separated from gold in 1971. Over 85% of the value of the dollar has been lost since we delinked from gold. So there is a problem. The media now calls this affordability. But what it really is inflation. We run a debt. As the deficit runs up, $2 trillion a year, part of that debt is bought by the Federal Reserve with newly created dollars. This leads to inflation and prices are up. And my goodness, just go to the grocery store, still look at the price of meat.
So he went to Fort Knox yesterday and he came out and immediately tweeted out, "I visited Fort Knox today." He says, the gold is all there. What does he say? It's impressive. Let me get to this. Yes, the gold is all there, approximately 147 million ounces. It is impressive. But the real point is what it still teaches in 2026. He said in 1971, we severed from the dollar from gold. Since then, currency has lost roughly 85% of its value. That's absolutely true. Why do you think we're always talking about gold and silver, folks? He says it's all there, 147 million ounces. Again, I really wish we could see it, but I understand for security reasons why we can't. So at least we got that good news. I guess we'll have to take him at his word. All right, Will Johnson comes up next here on LFA TV with Culture War. So remember this, folks. There are right ways and there are wrong ways, but there's only one Yahweh. So stand up tall, keep your shoulders back, keep your chest out, keep your head up high, because you are a child of God. No weapon formed against you, especially not trolls online who have no brain, will ever prosper. Keep your family and your friends close. Keep your pets close. Keep a smile on your face. Keep fighting for this constitutional republic. Never stop spreading the actual gospel and vanquishing evil and being righteously angry and righteously judge those who absolutely want to destroy your way of life. Have a great day, everybody. Will Johnson, Culture Wars, comes up now.
That we first in America. Black, white, brown, all cities, all towns, the